Natty State Studio, the sports media palace of Mid-America, the Wolf of Center Street. Here's your host, John Nabors.
And welcome into the John Nabors Show here live from the Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate each and everyone listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I am your host, John Nabors, and as always, we appreciate you making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon, as it is a great Wednesday. It's a little chillier than what it was 24 hours ago, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, I hate this, but it's going to be a nice weekend. But either way, it's hump day. You're halfway through the week, and we have a lot to get to today. Not only are we going to have your Arkansas update presented by Davis and Garratt Insurance, but we're also going to have former Razorback Tyler Spoon joining us. So looking forward to him. Always thanks to Bank of Fayetteville right here in downtown Fayetteville. Get his thoughts on the Globe Life weekend as well as the dominating performance that Arkansas had from against Grambling yesterday in Baum-Walker Stadium. And he also had some interesting comments, too, about Hagen Smith. Big, bold comments. So we'll talk to him about all those things. But we know that Razorback basketball, of course, is so heavily on the minds of Razorback fans. At least, actually, you know what? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It should be where you have Control-Alt-Deleted that whatever it is you want to call it that you witnessed or watched or listened to or whatever last night against Vanderbilt. Like, that was pathetic. And if you listen to our post-game reaction show, our live stream that we did after the game right there in Bud Walton Arena, you probably heard how all of us felt the same way. You didn't hear a whole lot from us after the game, didn't hear a whole lot from players. And in fact, if you wanted to go ahead and open up a cliche book and find out what players and coaches say after a loss like that, they probably hit most of them. You know, get back to the drawing board and, we got games to play. We're playing for each other, just all that stuff. But it's amazing how poorly it went and how quickly it went downhill for all the good greats that Arkansas had last night. And it's certainly getting to the point to where it's laughable. It's like bipolarism. Like, I don't know what to make of this team. Honestly thought that, stupidly, that this team was going to win last night's game after having 3 straight solid performances. Even though they lost to Mississippi State, they looked decent. They beat A&M on the road, and they beat Missouri. Not to say that those were great teams, but still progress from where they were before. At least they were taking care of business. But taking on the second-worst team in the SEC in Vanderbilt, team that hadn't scored 80 points in a single game this year, team that is a quad 4 team, and team that has 7 wins on the year, and, surely, easy home dub for the Razorbacks. No, they lost 85-82. They tried to come back. They got down by 15 points. They tried to make it a game, but almost in perfect fashion. The reason they lost is because of how the decisions that they made played into effect. Not saying that this is the reason why they lost, but when you have Trevin Brazile going and fouling somebody with 6 seconds left in the shot clock outside of the 3-point line and sending him to the free throw line when you're down by 3 with the game on the line, it shows you just how dumb it is and how dumb this season has been. It sums it up pretty much, where it's like, you got them right where you want them. You got it. It's there. Just hold tight. Stay firm. Play the game. You got them. And you do something really dumb, really low IQ, and then there it goes. It's pretty much what this season has been the entire time. I mean, sure, Caleb Battle had a nice game once again. Did have 6 turnovers. That's a little too many. But point-wise, offensive-wise, he was there. You had L. Ellis. Congratulations on your 1,000 points. That was probably the worst type of ceremonial 1,000-point game you could have ever had, or 1,000 points career moment you ever had. But I am just at a loss of everything. And it really makes it to where, as we've alluded to before and as we've talked about before, a game like that last night really makes the whole rumor mill start churning right back up of, is Muss going to be back next year? Like, is the team, what's this team going to look like next year? Who's staying, who's going? It just does not feel like it's going to be something that's sustainable and something that turns over from this year to the next year. It just doesn't feel that way. And that's what sucks. So let's try to make as minimal amount of points about this as possible, because I know nobody wants to talk about trash, but we still got to talk about it either way. So let's go ahead and welcome in. We got our guy, Curtis Wilkerson, our basketball aficionado, the host, co-host, I should say, of the Pod at the Palace podcast, which was a doozy, as you guys were up there pretty late last night trying to put that one together.
Yeah, we were. It was after midnight, and you know more about, radio and things like that than I do, but I've always been told that dead air is bad air. But it was really hard to fill some space and get 30 minutes out of that, because it's not even just the loss. It's just kind of like you said, the bipolarism of this team, man, where any talking points that you have, you kind of wind up feeling like an idiot after you say them. I mean, I heard Scotty on the show just yesterday where he was, applauding KB for saying, hey, Battle's only had 1 turnover in the month of February. Then he goes out there and has 6. And I don't know how many times I've said, you know what? I think I'm finally done worrying about this team just bringing it on a nightly basis, like playing hard and giving effort and all that stuff that should be a given. And then they go out there and do what they did against Vanderbilt for like the entire middle portion of that game. Like outside of the first 6 minutes and the last 6 minutes, they weren't there. And so it's really hard to kind of draw any conclusions or analyze it. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, that's bad, man. that's a really bad loss. It's a bad look. There's no silver linings about it. It's not one of those deals where you say, Caleb Battle scored 36 points, but it wasn't enough for the Hogs. No, it's just it shouldn't have happened. Nope. It was ugly. Vanderbilt is not a good basketball team, and they should never beat you at Bud Walton Arena. You should never lose 6 games in a season in Bud Walton Arena. So the vibes are down again. You just talked about the pocket. Like, shout out to the crazies out there who have tuned in. I mean, it's actually been doing pretty good numbers, and we definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
Keep rocking with us. We're trying.
Yeah.
But I think a couple times, during the show last night, I was just like, I don't what the heck do you people want from us, man? Like, I don't know what to say about this. Nobody does. Muss doesn't. Battle doesn't. It's just a bizarre season. It's a lost one. It sucks, man.
To me, this one might be one of the most confusing Razorback sports seasons in general, because there's never been a time or a team that I remember, again, in any sport, where it's like you see the talent, you see what they're capable of, you see where it can go and how good it can be, and they show it on occasion, and they showed it sometimes, but then most of the time it wasn't good, and then most of the time it ended up being worse, and I wish I could just sit back and, I'm sure you've been asked about this too, Curtis, a lot, and especially on Pod at the Palace. It's like, why is it this way? And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. There's only been, I think I bet on this team or against this team 5 times this year, and I've won all 5 bets. And the only reason I did is because I'm like, go against what your gut feeling is going to say, and then go with what you think is going, what your gut says is going to happen. And that's what has really made this season so weird. Is I've gone into every game where I have no idea what it's going to do. I don't know who's going to be the leading scorer. I don't know who's going to play well. I don't know if Arkansas is going to win or lose. I don't know anything. I don't know if there's going to be coaching adjustments. I don't know if this team's going to get down, if they're going to get blown out. Like, there is literally a roll of the dice crapshoot for every single game, and that to me is what makes this so frustratingly weird. Is that people don't like to be surprised. They don't like to be. They like to know, kind of have a good idea of what's going to happen in games. And every single game, it seems like there's just been a shock and a surprise was sometimes good and sometimes really bad, like last night.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas has been predictably unpredictable all year, and it's kind of crazy because, yeah, it's like you don't know what to expect from game to game, but you also don't know what to expect like within a game. I mean, at the start last night, Arkansas got up 10 points right away, and you're like, oh, cool. Like they're going to do exactly what they should do. It's very clear that they're a better team than Vanderbilt. They're gonna cruise this one 3 in a row, good vibes going into Rupp Arena, and then it's like somebody just pulled the plug. I've never seen anything like it, man. And they looked like they did against Auburn and like they did against Tennessee and like they did at Florida and all those games where they just got pounded. And it's true because they lost those games by, 20, 30 points, and you went from up 10 to down 16 to freaking Vanderbilt and Bud Walton Arena. So that's a 26-point swing. And then in the final, 5 or 6 minutes, it's like somebody walked by and said, "Oh, we got to plug this thing back into the outlet," and it turned them on. And then they played like their hair was on fire for the last few minutes. Aside from the boneheaded foul by TB and the inexplicable deployment of a all you need is a rebound, and you've got 5 guards on the floor. And so you've got Davenport and L. Ellis who are guarding the guy who's got like 35 rebounds in this game, and he sneaks in there, gets the offensive board, and puts a dagger in it. And
I'd forgotten all about that play. All right, like that's because I was so focused on other things. The fact that you needed him to miss both free throws. He misses both free throws, and nobody's even there to try and get the rebound coming off of it.
You take Brazil out as you should have after. Well, I guess he fouled out. I guess, but that happens and. They're going to the line. Like you just have to get a rebound if they miss one, if they give you one, and you go with a wing instead of Mackay or Lawson or anybody to box out the 6'10" guy that was standing right beside him, and he made him pay.
Dumb. I hate it. I hate it. I hated every minute of last night because you could almost see it coming. Arkansas was up, I think, was it 20-10?
20-10.
And we've talked about it a lot where it's like, oh, this team and how they start usually is a good indication of how it's going to go. And I believe Arkansas got up 7-0 to start the game. So I was like, okay. And then up 20-10, I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be one of those games. It's going to just be Arkansas not cruising, but holding anywhere between a 7 to 15-point lead and then close out shop and win 3 in a row. But as soon as they went on that huge drought, I think it was 5 minutes without a field goal, and Vanderbilt started getting it going and getting just chipping away at the lead, and then you kind of just look up and suddenly they have the lead, and I just knew then I'm like, that this team is not strong enough, they're not capable to hold on to this, and once again I was wrong about everything. Because then they come back, they're down 15, they come back, they scored. I think what did we talk about last night in the final 40 minutes in the final 8 minutes of the game, they scored nearly 40 points.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like, it's just, okay, now you're coming back. Now you're taking it seriously. You got Caleb Battle with some threes, L. Ellis with some threes, chipping away, and then just, it was too little too late. Like, that's exactly what this is. Too little too late. If you want to have a summary of it, that's what it is. It's always just been too little too late where, now we want to play. Now we want to put it together. Now we want to be offensive. Now we want to, and between that, and I think we even saw a commenter say about you can't even predict the starting lineup. I mean, there's just nothing. Yeah,
I mean, and they started the same group. This is like the 3rd or 4th game in a row they went with that lineup. It's going to change on Saturday. Like that's a given now. And like from the standpoint of our job, like this is such a hard team to write about and cover from a game-to-game standpoint because, like, full disclosure, like I sat down last night and I pulled out the MacBook and I was like, all right, man, I'm going to write something during this game, and instead of waiting until after. It's a late night, so maybe we can get something out right away after the game. And I had the lead written, Arkansas scored the first 7 points of the game, never looked back, and en route to a blowout win over Vanderbilt. Third
great
straight,
lead.
yay.
It's a great lead.
And then very quickly I was like, this ain't going to work, man. This is not going to work. I had it all outlined, my superlatives, player of the game, stat of the game, all this. And, they go 1 for 17, they're down at halftime, and I just delete.
Yep.
This is not going to work, man. And that's just been the story of the season for this team, and it's crazy. I saw a lot of people who we're placing some blame on Trevin Brazile. It's like, well, they were playing great. He comes back, and then, as soon as he gets in the game, things kind of go off the rails or whatever. And I mean, there's some truth to that because, like, you can tell there was a difference in the chemistry or the cohesion. That doesn't mean that Brazile is a bad player. It's kind of the same thing when they were working Nick back in last year, but at the same time, it's like you look up at the end of the night and Mekhi Mitchell plays 19 minutes. He goes scoreless.
Yeah.
And Chandler Lawson plays 10 or 11 minutes or whatever. And all he got was the wide open dunk because Davenport made a good pass, but he didn't get a single rebound in the game. It's like you get nothing from your front court. And what do you want Muss to do? Like not try something else? So Brazil got a look, and it just, I don't know, man. It just didn't work out for him.
I know that people can be disappointed in various reasons or various players, but I think Mekhi Mitchell to me was the most disappointing because of how well he had been playing. I know he didn't set the world on fire against Missouri, but they didn't need him to either. But to see him play nearly 20 minutes and get no points, nothing, like no points from Mekhi Mitchell and Jalen Graham. I guess he was there. I mean, I know he didn't play, but
available if needed situation.
I mean, maybe they did need him, but still, he didn't play. And like you said, with Brazil, I don't have any qualms with Brazil. Brazil got 6 rebounds and took 3 shots, made 2 of them.
Yeah, hit a 3 late.
And didn't have any turnovers or anything. So, like, other than the foul, which was a very, very dumb foul, there's no question about it. Brazil was fine. Like, that's not the issue. But just, I think what also just makes it worse is that Vanderbilt didn't even play good. It's not even like they were out there, like, hitting a bunch of threes or sitting there and just having this just dominating force underneath because Arkansas's guys were in foul trouble.
They only hit 4 threes,
Nothing. 4 of 16 from
They got to the line like 31 times or 32 times, whatever it was, and that's because Arkansas just, like, they couldn't keep those guys in front. And it was, I mean, sometimes you see, like Kyrie Irving, he's a really hard guy to keep in front, but he's just so slippery and he's got great handles and slick moves. Vanderbilt didn't have any of that. Like, they were just getting the ball, and it was a straight line drive, head of steam, and getting downhill. And it was just blow by after blow by. And it was everybody, like L and Devo. That Man John kid was just getting by anybody he wanted to. And it was crazy because Vanderbilt had 3 guys and me and you running around out there, you know, much. And that's all they needed. But shout out to Stackhouse. I mean, he's limited by the talent he has, but he's a really good coach. I mean, they run their stuff, and I think he looked at it and he said, you know what, we're on pace to give up 100 points in this building, and if Arkansas gets on a heater and Bud Walton, like, we're not going to be able to keep pace. I'm going to start throwing a zone at him. And we saw some 2-3, we saw some 1-3-1. They did some full court stuff, and Arkansas was on their heels the entire time. Too many turnovers. They weren't having the ball movement that they've had in the past, and I mean, it was a heck of a move. Like, it was a chess move, and good on him for that. There's still no excuse.
No, zero excuse for what happened. But I did pose this question because I think we've talked enough about whatever that was we watched last night. But the question becomes for me is just knowing what could happen or what might happen or is rumored to happen. Like, what needs to change in next season? Because if it ends up being a coaching change, that's one thing. But let's just play the for instance game. Let's just say that Muss stays and he doesn't leave somewhere else. Like, what? The roster's going to change, but what does it need to look like? We can sit here and talk about we want to play. We want a guy that's 6'11", 260. Okay, well, there's more to it than just being big. So it's like, what? Assuming that Muss is the coach next year, what is it that this team needs to have and be addressed, and it needs to look like? Because it certainly feels like there's going to be about 13 new players next year, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. It's interesting. Somebody commented on the pod today and said, "Oh, we would love for you when you have time to just kind of go through the roster of guys who could return and like who you'd like to see back and who you wouldn't." And that's tough in a bad season like this. Like, I like a lot of these guys, but it hasn't worked for a reason, and you almost wonder if you just need to like a fresh slate. I don't think they're going to lose everybody, but they're definitely not going to have too many guys coming back. But I think you got to get back to like old reliable. This almost feels like a if it ain't broke, don't fix it situation, because I mean, even when they've had some struggles in the past, like, you've been able to lean on defense, and the roster's had a very specific look. And we know they can't really shoot threes, but they get to the free throw line really well, and they lock you up and guard you, and that's a formula that's worked for Muss. And they kind of abandoned that this year because they felt like they need the offense to catch up. They need to be able to shoot and score. And it just hasn't worked. And, there's something to be said for like adapting and getting out of your comfort zone to take the next step. Well, you tried that and it didn't work. So I would expect, if Muss is the head coach next year, he's going to go back to, the method that he's had for his madness. And that's, we've said it before, like a bunch of 6'6", 6'7" guys who can play the 2 or the 3 or the 4, and they can switch and they're versatile and they'll freaking guard and rebound and play with toughness. And if that means they're winning a bunch of games, 62-58, then that's what they're going to do. But I have a feeling you're going to see several guys who kind of fit that mold who will get added. I think they understand now that maybe there's a balance to be had in the front court between just having guys who are long and athletic. And you need... It doesn't have to be, the 6'11", 260 or whatever, but you got to have like the Kamani Johnson type or the Mikal Mitchell type. Yeah. Somebody who's got some size to them who will put you on your rear end, because they've been missing that. Like, there's nothing to deter teams from getting downhill. They got to have a true point guard, and I think if you ask Muss, he wants the Jalen Tate / Anthony Black hybrid. The same mold, right? 6'6" and super long, and can cause opposing point guards fits, because I think that's been a big part of the issue for this team defensively is, you've got L or Devo or whoever out there guarding a point guard, and it's just different when you have, a 6'1" point guard versus a 6'6" point guard who can disrupt vision and deflect passes and create a bunch of havoc, and they've had it in the past and they don't now, and so teams are not uncomfortable initiating their offense against Arkansas, and it's been a mess.
Yeah, I've looked at too of... every year you always look back when Arkansas lost to Duke that year in the Elite Eight. People are just like, they just got bodied by bigger players. Just because you had Banchero or not was it Banchero? Yeah, Banchero.
He was there, Banchero, Mark Williams, those guys. Yeah,
because all you had was Jalen Williams, and that was it. And then you ended up playing UConn last year in the Sweet 16 game, and I know we joke about it, but man, everyone was just like, why don't you have a guy like, I always forget his name.
Sonoga.
I always want to say Minoga. It's Sonoga.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, okay, those grow on trees. Or even the backup that's there now, who's really good.
Yeah, how about that? You found 2 of them.
Yeah.
What are on the trees in Connecticut?
Yeah, well, apparently that's why they win championships and why they won last year and why they're really good this year is because they have players like that. But it's like every year you're going to have things like, if they just had this, if they just had that, if they just had this player, just this type of player, whatever it is. But, this year there's not like, a couple missing pieces. People hopefully jokingly said, how would different would this team be with Ron Holland? I'm like, man, Ron Holland's a great player, but this is bigger than Ron Holland.
Yeah.
This is bigger than Grant Nelson. This is a much bigger issue than any of that. And I think that there's just so much blame to go around for everybody involved. But I just feel like if you had a clean slate, again, assuming Muss stays here, you had a clean slate to hire whoever you wanted or to bring in whoever you wanted and the types of player you wanted, I'm assuming and hoping that Muss is just going to go back to the same old watering well that he's always been to and have a bunch of transfers, maybe a couple freshmen here and there. Well, I guess he does have 2 technically freshmen coming in. And, get that big point guard, have a big man, maybe like a 6'10" guy, and then have that 6'8", guy, that Stanley Mude, Vance Jackson size guy randomly in there, and then have a bunch of guards and forward people that are about 6'5", 6'6". I mean, I feel like that's probably what the team, at least size-wise, is going to look like next year.
I'm sure that he's already had, the GAs or the managers or whatever, like clipping up, old film of Stanley Mude and Aldis Toney and Justin Smith, and just having it ready for like when guys hit the portal and you call them and you send them that and say, hey, this could be you. You come to Arkansas. We want you to be this guy. Because that's their selling point. And, on one hand, like in the past, it's been like you transfer to Arkansas and, we can promote you to run an NBA style program or whatever to get you to the next level, but you also come here and win at a very high level. And I don't know if you can still sell that or not after this season, but what you can do is say, everybody's gone. Nothing but air and opportunity between you and playing time. So come on down. It's the SEC. There's still a lot of selling points there for them to get guys. And obviously, they got to have the backing or the finances or whatever to do it. And I wonder what that looks like after, I don't know a better word to say than like the investments made on this team. And have you been getting the return on that? Maybe not. Yeah. So can you convince people to up it, or or they're like, nah, man, you know, like we tried this. So I have no idea what that's going to look like, but it's going to be crazy, and it's a little unnerving. Like I don't know what my expectations are going to be, because like you're naturally going to have some guys who could come back that'll opt to go to the portal, or maybe a guy like Tremont Mark says, yeah, I know I'm ready to go pro or whatever. But like in the front court, you lose everybody but Bay Fall. Like they don't have eligibility left, and the one thing Muss has never really been able to do successfully in the portal is get big men. Yeah. I mean, he can get the wings, he can get the guards all day long, but are they going to be able to get the size? I mean,
other than
I don't know.
The Mitchell twins and
the one year they got the Mitchell
Graham?
twins and Graham. Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't it. Like, I mean, as far as just being to that level. But yeah, I know the below the yellow line says any chance Mark stays with 3 years of eligibility left. I don't think he stays.
I don't think so either.
I think
think he has anything else left to prove.
No, I think he's gone personally.
Yeah,
but I just think that next year, like, here's the thing: whenever you have the games or the seasons go a certain way, and you build up this kind of like credit, like Muss has, it gets deleted whenever that first time it goes away. For instance, the whole idea of like, oh, they'll start slow but then get it going, because they did that for 3 straight years. Okay, that's done, because even though you did it for 3 years, this 1 year is what made everybody's like, nope, not anymore. We're not going to believe that anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be the same thing with the transfer portal, and Muss has done a really good job of getting a lot of great players out of the portal. I guess John Rothstein calls him the importer. Eric Musselman. It's like, okay, that's all well and good, but there's still a lot more to be said about it, and there's still a lot more to be had about it. So I just don't understand like what they're going to do or how they're going to address it. But I'm going to go into next year, again, assuming Muss is the coach, I'm just going to go into next year and be like, okay, y'all got to prove to me something now. Like, I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to just assume that this team's going to be a tournament team or that this team's going to be really good. It's like, you got to actually go out and prove it to yourselves and to the fans, and hopefully everybody else will see it the same way. Even if they get big-time players out of the portal that were really good, and they went to the highest-ranked guys on the portal board that you guys are doing, until
if they do that, they'll be fine. But
yeah. If they do that, there's probably a national championship in store. So, but there's just so many questions about what it's going to look like, and who's going to be the coach and everything.
I also wonder about like how do they approach scheduling next year, because you got to think about it from 2 different standpoints. Like, one, you had a pretty tough schedule this year, and it caught up to you before you were able to really mesh. So there is something to be said about like maybe you schedule a little bit lighter, stack a bunch of wins and confidence, and work out the kinks, and then get into SEC play. I know they got the thing in San Diego, but it's like BYU and Notre Dame, and
I think Purdue
will be in there. So you'll get at least one pretty good game out of that, maybe. But outside of that, I wonder how aggressive they schedule. But then on the other hand, it's like, look at the crowds right now.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I don't think it's just a given that you'll have the season sellout and the packed houses and the interest right away. So you almost need to do something to get butts in seats. And we know for the SEC, ACC thing, they'll be on the road next year. Yeah. So you won't have that in the bank. So like, can they convince a Power 5 program or whatever to come to Fayetteville? And does that mean they have to go there the following year or whatever? I don't know, but they're going to have to do something. They might have to talk Penny Hardaway into it. I don't know. But, that's going to be something that really catches my eye, because I know that they kind of have a method about scheduling the pass of, we'll find these teams that actually suck, but we think they're going to win their league, and so it looks like we beat a bunch of tournament teams. Okay, fine. But, like, nobody's showing up for UNC Greensboro next year, even though it would be the rubber match, you know. God, so nobody's coming for Furman, so
no.
And you got to put butts in seats.
Fans are going to still look at those games as like, the name on the jersey, even though you're not, like, the players don't need to do it, the team doesn't do it, but the fans will, because it's like, even if UNC Greensboro, say next year, was going to win 30 games in the regular season and win their conference and all of that, that's not going to get people to be like, well, no, dude, this game's huge. This game is like, even though it's a team that's probably going to be better than, say, an Indiana, it's not going to fill the seats because of the name. Like, it's just, that's how fans are. And so I'm with you. That's the scheduling and how they approach it, not having the Bahamas or not having a Maui, not having a, like you said, the road game. There's, in the beginning part of next year, especially if it's looking a little bit bleak and the way the season's probably going to end. I think you're going to see the attendance numbers be, when I say bad or rough, if you're talking about like, okay, only 14, 15,000, but still compared to what they've been,
right?
It's still going to be a lot lower, and that's, I don't know how that's going to impact anybody, but it just comes back to you have to prove something. You have to show people that you are actually doing the things that need to be done to make this team and this program legitimate once again and getting back to the tournament. Because, I don't think anybody, even though last season you got into the tournament, went to Sweet 16, we don't know it was great, but nobody wants to go through that type of regular season again where you're just thanking the good Lord that your net ranking's high because that's the only reason putting you in the tournament. Like, you want to see wins. At the end of the day, you want wins. And Arkansas cannot have back-to-back seasons of losing, or 3, straight seasons of losing records in the SEC. Just can't happen.
No. You can't have that. And yeah, like the end game is always the NCAA tournament, but you need to keep your reputation is not the word, but like the standing you want as a program, like you have to compete in your own league. And I don't know, man. Like I just, we always kind of think of Eric Musselman as like a marketing and a branding genius with a lot of things he does. Like this is going to be a great test for him because now, like that benefit of the doubt's kind of been eliminated, and so some of the stuff you've done in the past, like I remember the DJ Musk videos and everything like that. Like he's not gonna be able to do a whole lot of that without people just teeing off on him. So I wonder, because it's gonna be so important for him to generate buzz and interest and everything, with people being skeptical, like what's he gonna do? That's gonna be a fascinating part of it. They might hire somebody for like that specific role, and I also wonder like what. I'm not trying to put bugs in anybody's ears or whatever, but like I wonder if like a coaching staff shakeup would be a thing, because it's you almost feel like something has to be different, but then again you look at it and it's like, well, I'm trying to intentionally call anybody out by name, but like Ruda's been with Musk forever, and Michael's his son, and Todd Lee's his good friend, and Brew is a Razorback legend, and so like. What do you do?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You got Keith Smart.
You got Keith Smart. Do you mix up roles? I don't know. It's gonna be fascinating. Very eventful all season, I would imagine.
Just bring back Gus Argenal. That's all you gotta do. Sparely
bring back Gus Argenal, killing it by the way.
Yeah,
they're 21-6, and they play tomorrow night. To win their league. And I mean, he took over a good program. Sometimes it's harder to take over a program that's coming off a deep tournament run like that than it is to take over a mess, because the expectations are higher. And so, good on Gus for going and like being the guy who follows the guy and doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Pump for him, man.
Yeah, because a lot of people bring that up about Argenal. And again, there's no one thing you point to and say, this is why it's bad. Like it's accumulation of so many things, and there's no one free of blame inside the program. I mean, every coach, Muss himself is part to blame, and the players part to blame. Everything is part to blame. So that's why I always kind of laugh when people in the comments or people start bringing up things of like, oh well, this guy sucks or this guy's trash. Why is this guy? It's like, man, it is so much bigger than any of that. And there's nobody that you look at and be like, well, thank goodness for this person, or this person's doing just fine. It's none of that. They're all very much accountable and should be held accountable for the failure of the season, because that's what it is. It's a failure of a season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's a collective failure, and it's really just a shame that this is where they're at. But, you can either stop the trend or just kind of let it snowball and become a big deal. Like the last thing you want to do is have a mess of an off season and let it impact recruiting and everything like that. So they'll have to get creative. They'll have to figure it out. They've got a lot of, I think, difficult decisions to make on some of these guys on the team who are obviously talented, but it's like, are we going to rock with you, or
Yeah.
Are you part of the culture that we're trying to establish? I don't know, man. There's a lot that goes into it. So good luck. That's why they pay them the big bucks.
That's right. Pay a lot more than us. But if you want to give your thoughts and opinions, folks, here in the stream chat, we will get to some of those and talking not only about the game with the Razorback basketball program, which I know is everyone's favorite thing to talk about at this point in time in the year. But let's see. Our guy Kingsley is in here. And he was talking about some of the things that things that he'd like to see for next year's team. He says one true point guard with length, several lengthy 3-4 guys, and at least one meatball 5.
Give me all those things.
Yep, I want a meatball. Give me the meatball to get it done. I want that.
Yeah,
It says, be willing to defend and knowing how to defend are two totally different things. This team didn't understand defensive principles coming in, and several are just now starting to get it.
It's very true. Like a lot of the things that Arkansas does on the defensive end of the floor from a scheme standpoint, it's a lot of NBA concepts, and it's different than what you do in a lot of places. Like Tremont Mark is a good defender, but what he did at Houston under Kelvin Sampson, it's a completely different world from what he is asked to do with Muss. The way they defend the 3-point line, like how they cover ball screens, all those things. It's very different, and so sometimes you can get away with it if you're 6'7" and very long and athletic.
That helps a lot of things.
Yeah, even if you're a step slow or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely an adjustment period to it. And I wonder if you think back to the summer, because that's when you put a lot of those principles in. A lot of those guys were hurt. Like Mackay missed the whole summer with an injury. Caleb Battle was out the whole summer with a foot. A guy like Chandler Lawson came very late. So did Denaje Harris. And so they really didn't have the full squad together until the fall, like when they started official practices. So maybe there's something to, what you learn over the summer as opposed to just like conditioning and getting to know each other. I don't know.
Yeah, hanging out and partying up at the pool and stuff. There's probably a lot more than that. Let's see. David says, I wish he'd recruit some freshmen and develop them, really coach them up. I mean, there's some truth to that, but also it's like you can't, you need more than just freshmen, because a lot of those freshmen, like, just because of the nature of college sports, like so it's a true freshman. It's either you develop them and play them, but if they can't play because they're not ready, then they're going to transfer somewhere else that they're going to play. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, they've got a couple of freshmen that have a ton of potential coming in. I mean, we talk about the prototype, and like the Jalen Shelley kid that's playing up at Link Academy in Branson right now. He's like 6'8", and he's got a 7-foot wingspan. Like he kind of fits all the criteria there. Isaiah Elohim, we talk about guys who can defend and get downhill and draw fouls. I mean, he's 6'5" and he's strong. So yeah, like both of those guys have a ton of potential, but can you rely on them to win at a high level in the SEC right away? I don't know. And then are they willing to wait their turn? And a lot of guys aren't nowadays, because the grass is always greener until it's not. So I mean, you think about the class last year; they had 6 freshmen.
Yeah. And
the other part of it is if you're really, really good as a freshman, you go pro. Like Nick and Anthony and Jordan Walsh did. So, and that's a difficult thing to do. People talk about, wow, why they have so much turnover every year. They're sending guys to the league on top of guys who are running out of eligibility because they graduate. And then, the guys who could be next up, like the Darian Fords or the Barry Dunnings, they leave, and only one of them stays in Pinion, you know? And so sometimes your hand is forced with that stuff. But I think they have a pretty good formula right now. I mean, only 2 freshmen this year. Maybe they would have liked to bring 3 or so in. But I think you got to have a little bit of a balance there.
Well, and also with just how they approach the freshmen, and some guys just get it right off the bat. You think back to the Moses Moody, Devo, Jalen Williams. I mean, they were freshmen and they made freshman mistakes, but they played and they contributed. And then I would say that like Jalen Williams from year 1 to year 2 was a pretty significant jump, and he did get better. But those types of freshmen just seem to be few and far between, where you bring them in and they just get it, they just know, and they're good to go. I think Anthony Black last year was a great example of just a guy who got it. He just got it. Nick Smith we didn't get to see enough of, but then you saw Jordan Walsh, who dude was a fouling machine for half the season, and he still got drafted in the first round. So it's like they saw something apparently, and. So the whole freshman idea, I get it in development, but you never know who's going to step onto that court in major college basketball and get it, and others that it takes a while to get. And by the time that they do get it, they're gone because they're moving on.
I think maybe they're on to something with like the incoming freshmen now, because like Shelley, he plays at Link Academy. That's one of the best. That's an elite really high school program. He's playing against great competition. It's a well-run program, great coach. Elohim is a Sierra Canyon kid. Like, he's playing with Bronny James. Like, it's a national brand type of high school program. So these guys are coming from still high school, but like that adjustment is different than coming from Morrilton or Magnolia. No offense, but it's just true, So maybe that can kind of speed up the learning curve a little bit. I don't know. We'll see how it looks, but I kind of have the feeling that might be the route they're headed. unless they find, the diamonds in the rough and within the borders of the state. You got to get those guys.
Also, I love Miss Lisa commenting, I find myself back on board just to be gobsmacked, in all caps.
I felt very gobsmacked last night. Yeah,
I love the word.
That's a great word for what took place there in Bud Walton.
Gobsmacked. I was like, I haven't heard that in a minute. But Devin also says, if Muss does leave, would Smart and Gus be considered?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Not yet for Gus. I mean, I think he's going to be a guy who, really climbs the ladder. But I don't think 1 year after a successful season at a D2 will get you an SEC job. Maybe one day down the road. Keith Smart is an interesting one, though.
He's been around a bit.
He's been around a bit. I know he interviewed for that Indiana job before he got on with Muss, and the whole thing was get your feet wet in the college game, figure out the recruiting side of things. I've never really heard a ton of buzz about him for high major jobs. I guess last summer I heard a little bit about some low majors, some smaller schools and stuff, but I don't think he would do that. I think he would really hold out for the right job. So I would feel pretty strongly they might go in a different direction there.
Yeah, and again, it's nothing against these coaches or anything, but it's like Arkansas is a job that is prestigious enough to where you can attract high-level head coaches from other schools.
You can go get a guy who's been to Final Fours to leave their job and come to a place like Arkansas.
I mean, you can go and get an Eric Musselman, who was a head coach in Nevada and who was having success there.
Right, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, and I know the names that gets thrown around was like Chris Beard. That's always a name that people start throwing around a little bit and start saying like, oh, well, maybe it's going to be him or whatever. It's not out of the realm of possibility where you're not just shooting for pie in the sky to get one of those coaches. It is very possible to have that.
Yeah.
And also, Hoggy Red says, have we lost our prestigious home court advantage under Eric Musselman?
Apparently so, man.
I'm telling you. Was it 6 losses now?
Yeah.
Bud Walton?
6 losses, 2 of them by more than 30 points, a double-digit loss to South Carolina, and a loss to Vanderbilt. The only loss that didn't bother me this season at home was Kentucky. Competitive game, you lose by 6, and it's like, well, that's going to happen. But the rest of them, that's rough. And I think what worries me about it, and it might just be apathy or just Muss realizing you know what, man, this team just doesn't have it. But he's not. I remember when he lost to Kentucky the first year, and he was I was worried about his mental and physical well-being after that game.
He was devastated.
He was in a bad place. I remember the first loss he had at home the next year was to Missouri. He got tossed. And it was their first loss of the year, and he was like, no, we got some serious problems. This is not okay. We don't do this here. Mm-hmm. And now, after the Auburn game, he was very much like,
nah.
That's crazy, Bob, that this is the biggest loss in Bud Walton history.
Thank you for that.
And then you lose to Vanderbilt, last night, and he's just like, we played a close game, had a chance to tie. We didn't. I'm disappointed in our defense. We'll get ready for Kentucky.
Well, it's
that scares me.
I know, and I was looking at the records from Bud Walton Arena, which they didn't have from one from 2 years ago. But, Muss in his first year went 14-4 in Bud Walton Arena. 4 losses being in the SEC. But then in the year of Moses Moody, and was kind of much ironic, the year that no one could go to the games because of COVID, and there was a, half or third full, whatever the number was, Arkansas went 16-1 that year. With, I believe, their one loss coming to Missouri.
Yep.
In that game that was the second game of the SEC slate.
The first game after Justin Smith got hurt.
Yeah. And so that's one thing that even in the Heath years, the Pelfrey years, the Anderson years, Bud Walton's always been something really special and really legitimate as far as home court advantage.
The next year, the only loss they had in Bud Walton Arena was to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So
Vanderbilt and Missouri, the teams that know how to beat Arkansas and Bud Walton Arena for some reason.
The kryptonite of Fayetteville.
Yeah, which is just so weird and everything. Again, Chris asked, hey guys, if Muss was to leave, who would you like to see? I feel like we've talked about this a lot. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, I like the idea of Chris Beard.
I think he'd be my top pick.
Yeah, I mean, there are ties here. I think it's a job that he'd be very interested in. And, man, he's just a guy who, wherever he goes, he wins, and he wins right away. I like Jerome Tang at Kansas State, even though they're having a little bit of a down year, but there's some extenuating circumstances behind that where they're all-league center just kind of got removed from the team for no reason. So
I thought you were going to say it's because Desi Sills wasn't on the team
well,
anymore.
that too. I mean, that's talk about
big
the elephant in the room, man.
Yeah,
it's like I like Jerome Tang. I've spoken about the TJ Otzelberger guy at Iowa State who he's just a winner and his teams play the right way. I've heard, and listen, I'm not bringing this up for people to get excited or ticked off about, but like I've heard Will Wade's name several times. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
That is hilarious.
But if you wonder about Will Wade, just go look at McNeese State this year. That's
really
all.
Good.
That's all I got.
Listen, I know people have their own feelings on Will Wade, but they could do a lot worse than Will Wade. A lot worse than Will Wade.
He would be great for guys like us.
Yeah. Oh,
he's great for media, man.
He'd be entertaining.
He's a very unfiltered quote, and he'd probably come in here and hang out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I wonder, does he still wear the suits? Or has he moved on to like the rest of the coaches and just rock
I think he might be more of a quarter zip guy now.
Okay, yeah. Because I'd say I'm not mean this in the mean way. Some people rock suits, like Jerry Stackhouse. That man wears a suit.
He wears a suit.
Will Wade doesn't wear a suit. He like somebody worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. He looks like one of the like MTs that are there that are just like, I got this from the resale shop, and I'm wearing it because I have to, so I want to be comfortable. So like,
Will Wade is the guy that needs to go for comfort and casual.
Yes. That's literally his vibe. His vibe entirely is.
He probably looks his best like if his teams ever go to Maui, and he can just wear the button-down Hawaiian shirts. That's his vibe.
Yeah, he should just do that all the time. Just wear Hawaiian shirts every game.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I'm not going to judge you for it.
Be a trendsetter, man.
Yeah, be the first one to do it. So we'll have your Arkansas update presented by Davis and Garratt here in just a second, folks. I got to tell you about Manscaped, which of course is one of our great sponsors here at Natty State Sports. And we know that you guys, us guys, we're always wanting to make sure that we're doing everything we can to please our ladies. Well, ladies don't like all that stuff going on, not only on your face at times, but also across your entire body. So Manscaped is able to help you out with that because they have the all-new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra designed to elevate your grooming game and make you shine like the heartthrob that you are. And the best thing about it is here at Natty State Sports, when you go to manscaped.com, you can enter in promo code Natty. That's Natty, promo code Natty, and you get 20% off as well as free shipping. You can have it delivered right to your door. And they have all the different types of tools that you could ever possibly want. They got the Weed Whacker 2.0 nose hair trimmer, Manscaped's liquid formulations, and 2 free goodies that come along with it as well. You can even get you a pair of boxers, too, to go along with it. I mean, they take care of the guys, and they make sure that they're taken care of with all of the different products that they have to choose from. So go check them out today at manscaped.com and enter in promo code Natty, that's Natty, Natty, for 20% off as well as free shipping at manscaped.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have your Arkansas update. So stay with us here on the John Nabors Show, live from Natty State Sports Studios.
We not done yet either. So don't be satisfied. We not done.
I mean, honestly, I don't really remember post game. I guess I black out after games, winning and losing.
You missed it. You missed it. You missed it. Just tell me you missed it. I'm not going to go through it. Why not?
And that will be the last question I answer with that hat on.
Oh, shoot.
That is why Arkansas is fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Why did that happen in Fayetteville, Arkansas? What took you there? It's just so weird. It's
visiting friends, but yeah, Dixon Street.
Dixon Street?
Yeah, Dixon Street. It was, it'll get you.
Best guys, I know it's a tough time for you. The coach is gone, but you got a new coach now, and you got to listen to what he says. Okay, I know you're thinking, oh, who is this new guy? Where's the other guy that crashed the motorcycle? We like him better. He was cool or whatever. Forget about all that. Listen to the new coach and get out there and win some games.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
You guys act like it's... Pick it up a little bit. Okay? Get your chin up. Smile! Smile!
I was a teacher today. Told those boys, welcome to the SEC.
Fayetteville is 1,843 miles away, but the call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
Let's stick my dick in the mashed potato. Go Hogs.
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
All right, and welcome back into the John Nabors Show here live from the Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening in, and want to do a little tease and chalk you up for it because not only we have Tyler Spoon coming on here in the 5 o'clock hour, so looking forward to catching up with him as we'll discuss a little Razorback baseball thanks to the Bank of Fayetteville, but also tomorrow here on the show, Dusty Hannes, former Razorbacks. He's going to be joining us in studio.
Let's go. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, he apparently signed his contract with Israel, I believe, and he's going to be heading out there shortly and soon, so he wanted to come on before he leaves. So I'm pretty excited for him. We're kind of talking about his contract because I know it's kind of a scary thing that for those you don't remember, like Dusty was playing for Israel when the stuff went down. You know, there's not really been much peace in the Middle East, but he was kind of caught in the middle of that, and luckily he was able to get out of there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Before it all happened and came back home. So, but I guess they paid him the big bucks, and now he's going to be going back out there. So,
yeah.
But good for Dusty. I like Dusty.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah,
that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. And yeah, man, I think I kind of remember when all that stuff started going down, and we were hearing about. I mean, there was more than one. Former Razorback that was over there, and so I'm sure that was a scary situation. I don't know if I'd want to go back.
Yeah, I know.
He's a bad man.
Yeah, he's a brave soul out there. Who was the other player? Do we remember who was the other former player that was out there? It was one of Muss's players, I believe.
Yeah, it was for sure. I can't remember.
I don't want to say
and
and not get it wrong. Yeah, and all that, but yeah, it was somebody like that, I believe. But yeah, that was a crazy time. Anyways, Dusty's going to be joining us here tomorrow. We'll talk to him about. Maybe he can have some answers for us about the basketball team and what's been the problems that's going on for them and try to figure it out. But we got to get to your Arkansas update here on the John Nabors Show, which is what we do each and every day. And it's brought to you by Davis & Garratt Insurance, your independent auto owner's insurance agency, securing what matters most. And for those of you who may have just missed it, Arkansas did lose last night to Vanderbilt by a final score of 85-82. And they're bad. And they're going to be on Wednesday Night Sadness, so let's just go ahead and accept it. They're not good, and there's that. But also, maybe some more positive news. Razorback Baseball did get the victory yesterday, 21-1. 20 runs scored against Grambling, and the game ended in 7 innings, which is, is that going to really, pole vault Arkansas the #1 ranking now because they beat Grambling? No, but it was nice to see at least a little bit of the offense get going, get some pitchers in there that maybe need some extra experience, and just approach it that way, and that was happening yesterday. So good to see the offense. Good to see just hits happen again and bats and runs. Those things score because we didn't see much of those in Arlington. I think they had 2 grand slams even Arkansas did yesterday.
They did have 2 grand slams yesterday.
Where was that? Why didn't we get to any of that? And in Arlington, that would have been a great ballpark to hit a grand slam in, I feel like.
I listen, I'm a baseball fan, but I love strikeouts and I love home runs. I'm a modern guy. Give me the launch angle thing, and you can miss me with the small ball and bunting guys over. No, man. Like I want to see dingers. Let's go.
Yeah. That's all we want. When chicks dig the long ball, man.
That's right.
Like, that's what they want. They want to see that. Because I did see yesterday, like they had a pitcher for Grambling that was throwing 71-mile-an-hour fastballs. Like that was the fastest he could throw. So it's like you should have been teeing off on him. And, you hate to see anyone get beat down like that. But a lot of it just had to do with, hey, it's scheduling. And I think I even talked a little bit about it yesterday, that those types of teams that are from either, FCF programs or whatever, that's the games that they want to play all those games. They want all of them because that's the type of game that funds their program. So for those of you who are like, oh, man, why are you scheduling those teams or why are you beating them so bad? It's like, they want it more than anybody. Yeah, they want to win, but like they're like, give us Arkansas, give us LSU, give us every single baseball program that'll play us because that's how we fund these programs. For sure.
And sometimes games like yesterday can be a little bit scary when you're just one day removed from being at an event like you were at Globe Life where, and honestly, like in this thing, those were, they're high-level arms, but it's not anything like what they'll see in SEC play outside of maybe the kid from Oregon State that he got hurt. I hope he's okay. But still, like it's guys who throw hard and, they're a lot of them could be draftable prospects and everything like that. And then you go from that to just a completely different adjustment to a guy who's throwing 71-mile-an-hour fastballs. Like sometimes they can get you, like they'll get through the order one time before you can figure them out. And then maybe they can go to somebody else and that's how those games can sneak up on you.
Yeah, because I know you were a coach at a smaller college and everything. Like, was there a team that you guys scheduled that was like you just like, hey, we know we're coming in here, we're probably going to get our brains beat in, but it's worth having.
We used to play Well, for basketball wise, we could never get a D1 to play us, but we would play different D2 teams, and we won now and again. But I was the athletic trainer for our baseball team, and we played Eastern Illinois and swept them in a doubleheader.
Wow.
They'd never play us again. And then we had Murray State, who came down and played us, and we played at a minor league ballpark in St. Louis. That's why teams would come down there and play. And Murray State, it was 27-2 or something,
right,
and a run rule. But no, it was a lot of fun, good time.
Well,
Murray State, who's coming down.
I was about to say, speaking of, that's who Arkansas plays next.
Yeah.
Friday, 3 p.m. will be the first game against Murray State, and that's going to, of course, be played in Baum Walker. Then you have Saturday at 2 p.m. and then Sunday at 1. So you got the 3-2-1 games going on for the weekend, and it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend too, weather-wise. So. Then you have the in-state rivalry coming up on Tuesday of Arkansas and UCA there in Baum Walker. And then, how about this? They play McNeese State the next weekend. So we've been talking about all the teams.
Yeah, man.
The Will Wade special that's coming up. And Murray State was McMahon, right?
That's right.
Look at all the connections being made.
It's
LSU
crazy.
Coaches. And
I think we know what's going to happen here in the next few weeks for sure.
Yeah.
And UCA, by the way, who played LSU, I think it was LSU, really, really tough in a game like a week ago. So, no slouch there.
Yeah, and then Oral Roberts, the Connor Vanover special.
That's
I don't
right.
know. I'm just trying to make
What's
every
going
connection
on
to the team. Yeah, it's like all the basketball talk, heading in with the baseball schedule. It's all coming together for that. But yeah, there you have it, folks. Again, there's your make sure I say it right, because your Arkansas update. Don't want to get anyone in trouble. Arkansas update brought to you by Gavis and Garratt Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters most. So. But yeah, we're going to have Tyler Spoon join us here in just a couple of minutes. And I want to get to some of your comments, too, that have been coming up here on the stream. And apparently Chris just says no to Will Wade. That's just no to Will Wade.
We'll probably get a lot of those.
We will do. And also Kingsley says, I don't think our NIL program is strong enough for all Will Wade's strong-ass offers, as SEC says.
That might be a valid point. We know he was throwing them out there, man. So
man, that's still a crazy story. And just the way he put it out there, I was like, hey, they had that. I know that they didn't win a championship or anything, but that one year, I don't remember which season it was, but they were like a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. They
were good.
I think they won almost 30 games that year. They were really loaded. So I was like, because I'm trying to remember, who was his best player he had at LSU? I was trying to remember. I can see him now. I don't have to look like I can look. I feel like it was a guard.
Yeah, I mean they had Javonte Smart for the longest. He was not their best player though, but they had Darius Days, who was like the Razorback killer.
Maybe that was who I just thought of because he just killed Arkansas every time. Maybe I thought he was the best player just because he killed Arkansas each and every time.
I know who you're talking about though. It was the freshman who was just ridiculously good, and I think he plays with the Brooklyn Nets now.
And I don't know why I keep thinking his name's Trey. I could be completely and totally wrong on that.
Cam Thomas.
Okay, yeah. So, Cam Thomas, Trey.
He was good.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that dude was nasty. So,
Tari Eason, who wound up being a lottery pick.
Yep.
He had some really good players.
That's what I'm saying. So there could be a lot worse that you could do, again, with having Will Wade. Also, Average Joe said, do we pay Grambling to play us? And if so, yes, how much? Yes, you do. But I don't know how much. I'm sure there's a way you could find it out.
Probably so. Sometimes those football teams can make $1 million or whatever to come play you. I think I've seen some of those basketball contracts in the past, and some of those can be upwards of $100,000 and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what it would be for baseball. It might depend on how many games they come play too.
That's true. Yeah, because some of them will play. Like we saw with James Madison, they played 4 games in a weekend. Some of them can just do the one-off game and in the midweek. There's just a lot of ways, but they get taken care of enough to where they can fund a team, because I'm pretty sure Arkansas or whoever they play funds their travel too. I don't know if that's included into the money or separate, but yeah, they make sure that they're taking care of the best. But we're going to have Tyler, I almost said Tyler Wilson. I keep want to say Tyler Wilson and Tyler Spoon. They're all from the River Valley, so it's all the same if your name is Tyler. But we're going to have them joining us here in just a second. But folks, I got to tell you about our fine friends over there at Superior Contracting and Development right there in Valonia. I know that with here being in the state of Arkansas and being in the Natty states, some sort of pride that comes along with being a part of it and being here at Arkansas. And you want to do business with people that are local, and that's what Superior Contracting and Development is. They're very local, but they're statewide. So just because they're in the Central Arkansas area doesn't mean that they can't help you out in all 4 corners of the state. And it comes down to them being one of the best when it comes to licensed residential and commercial contractors, specializing in all the aspects of home building and remodeling. They do everything: fencing, drainage, and additions to remodeling to your existing structure, and all the way to land development and ground-up construction. They do all of it. So give them a call today at 501-453-3053. That's 501-453-3053. You can contact them also via email at contracting@superiorarc.com and visit their website at superiorarc.com. That's superiorarc.com. Again, no matter what it is when it comes to your interior or exterior construction remodeling needs, hit up Superior Contracting and Development at 501-453-3053. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to have, of course, our guy, Tyler Spoon. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned here on the John Nabors Show. Right, it is a Wednesday, and we know that Razorback Baseball is still continuing on, and we got to recap a little bit of Globe Life and their performance down there, as well as a huge offensive showing against Grambling yesterday, and continuing on the season. And who better to talk about it than with former Razorback Tyler Spoon, who joins us now on the John Nabors Show, thanks to the Bank of Fayetteville right here in downtown Fayetteville. What's up, Tyler? How you doing, man?
What's up, John? We got some good stuff to talk about this week.
Yes, plenty of good stuff to talk about. And I want to talk, I mean, we're going to go all over the place in this because there's a lot to get to. But we'll start Globe Life, and we'll do some takeaways from it. But the main story was Hagen Smith.
Yeah.
That performance against Oregon State, 17 strikeouts, 70-some-odd pitches, 8 of the first 18 outs, 7. I mean, I have never seen anything like that. You've played baseball. You watched baseball. Have you seen anything like that?
No, I have not seen anything that dominant. I mean, there were times probably where Skeens looked that dominant last year, but I even then, it's just to just mow them down. And this isn't like an Oregon State lineup that's, you know, like an average Pac-12 lineup. This is like leadoff guy, number 3 overall pick projected right now. I mean, it's a stacked Oregon State lineup. I mean, Bazana, Bazana's his name, but going 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts against Hagen, and looking like he had no idea what was going on in the box. And then he turns around the next day, and I think he has 3 for 4, and I think 1 or 2 homers, but the dude rakes. And so that just speaks volumes to what Hagen was doing to that lineup and how good he was. But yeah, it was, man, it's just, he's like Chris Sale 2.0 is what, to me, is the stuff, not as quiet, you know, the arm slot's not as low as Chris Sale, but the stuff, the velocity, the slider, I mean, it's identical to me. So
well, and even something that I loved about it being there and just seeing it in person was cool, but it wasn't like that there was just some crazy pitch that he was throwing that they couldn't figure out. And it wasn't like, just that maybe the umpire had some so-and-so call. Like, these guys were striking out swinging. Like, that's to me, of course, anytime you have 17 strikeouts, it's impressive. But that puts it to a whole nother level where there was nothing gimmicky. There was no, bad calls. It was strictly these guys saw a pitch. They liked the pitch. They swung at the pitch, and they didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah, and that's a big stat they keep track of a lot now is the whiff percentage or whatever. But it just shows how electric the stuff is. It really does. I mean, it's one of those things. It's hard to describe to people that maybe haven't been in the box before. But the spin rates and all that stuff that's more of a huge factor now with pitchers. That stuff is real, and it gives you a little bit more of a value. And you can quantify a little bit what the pitcher's doing and why guys are doing what they're doing. But with the spin rate that's so high, the ball kind of stays flat and almost looks like it's rising in the box. And, guys are always swinging underneath it and they have no idea why. Or the slider that just has a ton of spin on it that just, has 18 inches of break or whatever it is. There's more information to quantify that stuff, but his stuff is just off the charts, and that's why you see so many people swing and miss, and they can't hit it because the numbers and the spins. It's better than major league average. And probably better than top 20% of major league pitchers. So it's pure electric. It's awesome.
Yeah, and to do it in that regard, like against Oregon State, a really good team, and doing it in Globe Life. I think everybody, scouts-wise, were probably already really big on Hagen Smith, but the amount of scouts that I saw there, too, like that's the type of stuff and that's the type of performance where I don't think we have to worry about Hagen Smith coming back for another year at any time soon. I think he's probably going to go to the pros and probably be a pretty high draft pick.
Yeah, enjoy it while you can. I mean, it's not crazy to say he has a very legitimate chance to be the first guy taken this year. I mean, you get a lefty that's, and Hagen's not, he's a big kid. People may not have stood next to him, but he's every bit of 6'3". I mean, he's a big kid, left side, 98, touch 99, wipeout slider, good changeup. I mean, that's the makeup of a first overall pick. And then you do what you did to the projected number 3 overall pick. Just, I mean, I know Chase Burns is up there as well, and there's gonna be a few others that emerge as well that aren't even close to the top right now, but it's hard to look at every single person in college baseball and say this guy's better than Hagen Smith. That's after what he did. I mean, obviously he's not going to do what he did every night, but even if he does 60% of what he did the other night, and the ERA is under 2.5 or something, very, very legitimate case he's the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I even was talking to Will McIntyre, and I talked to some other baseball players, and a lot of them brought up that to be a great athlete and to usually play certain positions in baseball, like If you're a first baseman, nobody usually says, the first baseman's the greatest athlete we have on the team. Yeah. But there are certain positions. But from what I hear and what these guys say, they say Hagen Smith might be even the greatest athlete on the team, which, again, is not like saying that pitchers aren't athletic, but it just, again, showing his height and his ability out there on the mound, but also just the sheer athleticism and endurance that he has to go into late games, too, is huge.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and say it for the record, pitchers aren't that athletic, so Hagen's repping the brand,
There you go.
But no, it's impressive. When you get a pitcher that's that athletic, and I think of a guy like Chris Oliver for us that was just a freak athlete, Jackson Lowry, guys like that were great pitchers but really good athletes. It helps a lot, it says, hey, I can, I've got all the makeup to be a number 1 pitcher in the big leagues and be an all-star and potential Cy Young type pitcher down the road. But it's awesome to hear. You hear so many good things about Hagen, just his personality, his makeup, his athleticism. So I look forward to seeing what happens this year and where he goes in the draft and keeping up with him in the future.
What'd you think about the rest of the pitchers too? Because not only was Hagen Smith, of course, the star of the show, but even the starting rotation. Brady Tiger coming in did a great job. Mason Molina comes in and does a great job. I know it's a long season, a lot of things can happen, but you got to feel pretty good in those types of showings about the starting rotation moving forward, at least for your weekend guys.
Yeah, there was, you see a lot of people on social media that are like, we can't hit. How are we the top 5 team in the country? And then you watch our arms and you're like, okay, this is. As far as pitching staff right now, it's the best team in the country without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, and the offense will obviously come around. There's no question. But yeah, it's special. I mean, it's one of those deals where 2013 was Barrett Aston on Friday at 92, 96, and Ryan Stanek on Saturday at 95, 98, touch 99, 100, and Colby Suggs at the back end of the bullpen. I mean, just again, it's very similar to that. And Trent Daniel was also a part of that group. So many guys that everyone's throwing mid to upper 90s, and it's a different game these days than what it was. Usually, even 10 years ago when I played, it was like you probably have 1, maybe 2 guys. If you're really good, you have 3 guys that can touch 95, 96. And now it's just arm after arm after arm, and Arkansas just keeps throwing them out there. So, it's Tiger's really he's honestly, for me personally, I wasn't sure what to expect from Tiger, but he's shown so much for me just as a starting pitcher, being able to pitch and, just really work the hitters and, be a little bit more of an artist with his pitching. He's been really impressive. And then Molina as well. He's kind of got the track record at Texas Tech. So it's just a lethal combo. I really like our pitching staff, to say the least.
Speaking with former Razorback Tyler Spoon here on the John Nabors Show, thanks to the Bank of Fayetteville here in downtown Fayetteville. Tyler, I know that he wasn't there when you were playing, and I don't know how much interaction you had with him, but since we're on pitching, Matt Hobbs seems to be a guy that he just gets it, and obviously he's been at Arkansas for a long time, which assistant coaches usually don't stay around if they're having a lot of success because they end up getting better jobs. But just from what you've seen from him in the years that he's been at Arkansas and developing these guys, what stands out to you as far as his ability not only to recruit but also to develop these guys and make them, by the time they get to year 2, 3, they're really throwing their best stuff?
Yeah, he's special. He's people probably take for granted, just how good him and Thompson both are. Hobbs was at Wake Forest before this, and I think he had a really big part in implementing a lot of what they're doing now, which you obviously see the result of what they are now. You look at 2 of the best 5 pitching staff in the country. It's Arkansas and Wake Forest right there, but he does a great job of recruiting the style of pitcher and the body type and the frame, everything he's looking for. He knows exactly what he's looking for, and he knows exactly what he can do with that pitcher, and he maximizes every bit of that player. So he is a phenomenal human being too. From everything I've gathered, just a really, really great guy. The couple times I've met him, just down to earth, very low key, very relaxed, but just a wizard. You tell that mind's spinning and something's always going. But yeah, just an incredible pitching coach and knows exactly what he's doing and how to get the most out of every player that comes through.
Now, I'm glad we had the game against Grambling yesterday because if not, we were going to have to talk about the entirety of this offense. But we will talk about it in Globe Life and going back to it.
Indeed.
It was frustrating, to say the least. Against Oregon State, that was just a great baseball game. You're going against their ace. But then against Oklahoma State, going to 14 innings and going 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position. And then against Michigan in the final game, a team that you should probably tee off a little bit against. You only muster up 4 runs. I think there was a time in the game where Arkansas had 3 runs on 1 hit. So I get it's early. I think everybody's saying that it'll work itself out, but that was not what I'm sure Nate Thompson and especially Dave Van Horn wanted to see from his offense down in Globe Life.
Yeah, and like you said, the Oregon State game was the offense I don't even look at because that's an SEC Friday night top 5 matchup. Could be a College World Series Final Four type game. That's in a 5-4 game. We just scrapped it and found a way to win. That's what you do. But definitely Saturday. Oklahoma State, and also Oklahoma State has some good pitchers. It wasn't like they may have thrown their best. He may end up being their best guy, but they were really, really good. But at the same time, we did not. We had plenty of chances, and it didn't happen. And same with Michigan. Michigan on Sunday should have taken advantage of that. And it's frustrating because we had so many opportunities. It's not that, technically we didn't hit the whole weekend. We just had so many opportunities, and there's run producers and there's run scorers. And right now we just don't have a lot of run producers. So we got to find those guys. And so regardless, offensively it's frustrating. I get it as a fan, like we didn't score, but that stuff does come around. I would be way more concerned if we weren't getting anybody on base and it was just a strikeout after strikeout and no one getting on base, no one drawing walks. But we had opportunities, we just didn't capitalize on them. And that's, as a coach, as a fan, it's frustrating, and it's just, could be a bad approach for guys, and not saying like they're not being taught a good approach or anything. That's just saying the game can speed up really, really quick on guys. And so you just get outside of your comfort zone when the guys are in scoring position, or you kind of veer away from your approach, whatever it is. So again, as the season goes along, guys get more comfortable, that stuff starts to happen, and you'll see a lot more production, I think.
I think it's an interesting deal where you have, like the hitting that gets better. I look at Aloy, for instance.
Yeah.
He has not started very well, and he was a guy that in scrimmages just was cranking them.
Yeah.
And I keep, as well as many people, looking back to like Caleb Cowley last year, where he started off rough, but he got it going. Is that a lot more common than what people even realize sometimes, though, with hitters, especially guys that are new and guys that are like in scrimmages, man, they're cranking in, and Baum Walker going up against their own guys, they're looking good. But I guess maybe when the lights come on, when it starts being real games, there's a little bit of an adjustment period. Is that a lot more common than what people even realize? Yeah, especially in Vahiva's situation. It's like coming from Sacramento State, and not knocking Sacramento State. It's just different. Yeah. It's just different here than it is at Sacramento State. And a guy as hyped up as he was, there's probably a lot of pressure on him. He probably feels that pressure, and he's probably just trying to overperform when if he just
stays within himself kind of deal, and just he is who he is. That stuff will kind of even itself out. But I understand the pressure he probably feels as a player and a hitter. It's like, okay, I'm coming from Sacramento State to Arkansas, the SEC top 3 program. I've got to show why I'm the starting shortstop and projected high draft pick kind of deal. So probably just putting a lot of pressure on himself, and that's what it looks like to me too. It looks like he's probably just pressing a lot and just kind of taking uncomfortable swings, not taking his normal swings, and that stuff irons itself out. It may be he may go through a stretch where he's 10 for 12. That's going to happen probably. But yeah, at the beginning of the year, it's very common to see guys just scuffle like Callie did last year, and then eventually, once they get comfortable and they just kind of forget about all the noise and just try to do their thing, they'll figure it out and it'll start rolling. I know it was Grambling State, but Arkansas was able to just win 21-1. Run rule didn't get out of the 6th inning, and it's not a game that we probably be playing in Globe Life, but does a game like that though make the confidence maybe a little bit higher and help out a little bit? Yeah. Just being able to say, okay. Yeah, it may not have been against a team like an Oregon State, but still kind of settling in and showing, hey, we can still score, we can still got it, we could still make this work. Yeah, and I think that's the first thing I thought. Jason Jones, if a guy like that can get going, that just adds another. Again, we've already talked about this. He has the potential to be a 20 home run guy this year. I mean, the power you guys obviously saw. It's there. Everything's there. The tools are there. So you hope that maybe a game like this can kickstart those guys and maybe get them rolling, get some confidence at the dish. But at the end of the day, no offense to Grambling, but we did what we were supposed to do, kind of deal. But at the same time, Grambling's picked at the top of the SWAC, and I get it. It's SWAC, and they were throwing a guy that was throwing 60 miles an hour. Like, I get it. It's like, hey, but at the same time, it's not like they're projected to win the SWAC, and so we played really well. At the end of the day, we played really well. We did what we were supposed to do. We hit balls really hard all over the yard, up and down the order. So I'm hoping that kind of kickstarts us and maybe rolls into Murray State and into the next few weekends. So, well, looking at also those midweek games, with pitchers, it's usually throwing some guys, like some freshmen or some guys that you want to throw. Like Gage Wood pitched a little bit yesterday, Dylan Fouch, and everything. But as hitters, you still go out there and you still perform. I know they ended up adjusting it as the game went on, but. What's the approach to those midweek games against teams that you feel like you should dominate compared to like a weekend series like they just came off? Like, how do you approach that? It's hard, and and that's why DVH does a really good job of like trying to basically make sure you're dialed in for those games, because as a player, it's really hard to you come off of an emotional, especially during the middle of the season, SEC play, and you play at Alex Box for 3 games, and it's just pure adrenaline, just emotional rush, just 3 games in a row, and then you come out in a midweek against whoever it is, and you've got 2,000 people there. It's not as loud, not as rowdy, and you're trying to muster up some energy. And the team on the other side of the field, this is their Super Bowl. Sometimes it's like this is what they are waiting for their entire season, to play at Baum Stadium, to play against Arkansas, and so they've got a little bit more grit and determination to try to win. So. I would be lying if I said it was easy to get up and get ready to play those games sometimes, but you've got to find a way to do it. You just got to lock in, not try to do too much, not be lazy. But the guys did I was really happy to see how well they did, the other day or yesterday. So, do you remember, was there a time when you were playing that you guys lost a midweek game that you shouldn't have, and it was kind of a very eye-opening moment, maybe? We didn't lose, but it was Mississippi Valley State. We won 3-2, and it was like, oh boy, like that. They may have won 10 games that year. It was rough, and again, 2015 we started off 11-12. Like we were terrible the first half. So, but yeah, that was an eye opener, and DVH was not pleased, to say the least. So. That was a game for me that was an eye opener. It was like, oh gosh, we gotta figure this out. So I think what was it, Lipscomb last year? I think was one of those. It was out at Dickey Stevens Park. That, from what I understand, is the one that Arkansas lost, but it was also one that DVH was not too thrilled about in the performances. So I guess it's just interesting to see, how it is. It's one of the things you say. It's just baseball. Baseball happens, but there is still sometimes some performances that. No, it's not just baseball. You just didn't play well. Like you just didn't do what you were supposed to do, and that's what those midweek games are always interesting. Because not saying they're a crapshoot and it happens all the time, but
sometimes, those midweek games will get you or sneak up on you or something like that. I mean, it happens pretty often, it seems like, to baseball teams.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's just so easy to kind of check out after a big series like that in Globe Life and just not be ready to play. So it's tough. So the midweek game, again, that's why DVH doesn't like to play them too much towards the later half of the season. Likes to do it more at the first half, and just because he knows how hard it is to get up for those games and get ready, but also we can get more rest in between SEC weekends. So yeah, you got to be careful with those, and they did a good job of not letting that one sneak up on them.
I know we're getting close to about 10 games so far this year, and there's a lot of games to play. But is there a particular player that's maybe surprised you, or somebody that you didn't know much about before, but now you know a lot more about? Like, just who has really stood out to you, other than the obvious ones on this team?
I think Helfrich for me, and I'd heard about him, but I hadn't seen him. But people need to go watch a major league catcher in spring training and then go watch Ryder Helfrich catch a game. There's not a lot of difference when it comes to, one, the body. He's huge. I mean, he doesn't look like a freshman, but the receiving part of catching is such a hard thing to master, and he looks like a big leaguer. It's crazy. So he, for me, is a guy that I'm over the moon impressed with. Just as a guy that played catcher in pro ball, I understand how difficult it is to one catch but make it look that good. And as a 19, 18-year-old kid, however old he is, to be able to do that at such a high level, and he's just the big, strong, physical presence and can swing the bat really well. Really impressed with that kid. And that's a guy that you could see the second half once he kind of calms down and gets all the, the jitters out. The first half, as an 18, 19-year-old kid, he might be a guy that you look up and he's got 10 home runs. So it's I'm really excited to watch him progress and see how good he becomes, because there's a lot of upside and a lot of ceiling for him.
Yeah, how do you, if you're Dave Van Horn, like, how do you handle having the amount of catchers that they do? Because we've seen, we got Parker Rowland, who caught last year, and then you got Hudson White, who was a catcher, and they brought him in, and he had his struggles of just, as you said, receiving the ball in there and go by. But then also Ryder Helfrich. Like, is it something to where you think that they'll settle in on just one catcher, or do you think maybe Dave wants to have a little bit of a, maybe taking the burden off of some of these guys? Like, how do you feel you play that when you got three catchers that all can bring something different to the table? Yeah,
I think that's a good question. I don't know how he'll play it, but you will see Hudson White and Helfrich in the lineup a lot. I know. I mean, just watching those two guys play, they can really swing it and they can really catch. So they're going to get a lot of opportunities, and it may be a deal where one of them ends up DHing the whole time, but they're both really good, and I could see both of them just splitting time behind the dish just to give one a break, or just to rotate it in and out. And it's a good problem to have. Yeah. I don't feel like we've had a problem like this where we have four catchers and three legitimate ones that could play at any point. So, it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. So it's again, good problem to have, and we'll see how it works out.
So you said that you were catching a little bit in minor league. So how did that come about? Like, what happened there?
I'm 5'10", 195 pounds, so I didn't project as an outfielder, and I didn't have a lot of power like Benny did. So it was crazy. A lot of as the draft came along, it was like a lot of people were, hey, we'll take you in the top, take you in the 7th, 8th, 9th rounds for $500 and a plane ticket kind of deal, or hey, we'll give you some money for if you want to come be a second baseman or a catcher. And I'm like, oh, gosh, well. Kind of got down to the second half of the draft, and I'm like, okay, like I'll do whatever, just whoever wants to do it. So the Red Sox called, and they were just like, hey, we want you to catch. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll give it a go. So, looking back at it, I probably wasn't happy in the moment, but I understood where they were coming from, where I get that my profile didn't project as a major league outfielder. My tools were pretty across the board, pretty average. I could hit a little bit, and I had a really good arm. That was my boy. I had a really, really good arm. That was like probably my best tool. So it just kind of worked out to where I was behind the dish. And if I had, the thing about catching is, if you're a reliable catcher and you can just do a good job, call a good game, and get the trust of the pitchers, and you can, as a minor league catcher, especially if you can give it 7 years, you're probably going to make it to the big leagues, just because guys get hurt all the time. Catchers don't last as long. Catchers don't hit. So it's just a constant rotation of catchers. So, but yeah, it's such a valuable position. Yeah, it kind of just shook out that way in the draft.
Well, because I was wondering, had you ever played catcher before at that point in time?
So I played a little bit in high school, mainly because no one else could catch, kind of deal. So it was, caught Brandon Moore. So I caught Brandon Moore in high school. So, but yeah, it was a learning curve, especially taking, 5 years off of not catching, and then all of a sudden you're thrown in catching 98 miles an hour from, a kid from the Dominican Republic that has no idea where the ball's going. It's like, oh man, this is a shock to the system. So, catching is a tough position to learn, but that's again why it's so valuable.
I want to ask you too about a hot topic in the debate about going back to Hagen Smith, win-loss record for pitchers, because he did not get the win. But it's one of those things where some people are like, it's the most pointless and useless stat of all. What do you make of the win-loss record for pitchers?
I mean, if I'm a scout and evaluator, the last thing I'm looking at is a win-loss record. I mean, maybe it comes into a play at some point, but you're taking a pitcher for his tools, and especially a guy like Hagen. You're not drafting him because he could win 10, 12 games. You're drafting him because he could throw 99 from the left side with a wipeout slider. That's why you're drafting Hagen Smith. So not as valuable as people, make it out to be, essentially. So I'm on that side where it's a great pat on the back to have it, if you have a great win record, but also means you could just have a really, really good offense. So, but yeah, it reminds me of Rick Porcello, I guess probably 7-8 years ago when he won the Cy Young. He had a 3.5 ERA, but had a really good offense, and ended up winning the Cy Young because he had 20-something wins. So, but yeah, win-loss record for me, I'm not big on it.
So why do they keep it? I guess just to test another stat to throw in there. I don't know, because I feel like any other sport, team sport at least, does a single individual, it's like, okay, well, here's your win-loss record. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems like it's such a weird thing to even think about and even do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, hey, from back in the day, just a stat
baseball,
they've always
man.
kept. It's baseball.
Yeah.
So
that's what I got to chalk it up to, because I'm starting to learn a lot more about baseball stuff. Like, I mean, I didn't realize that if you try to bunt and you foul on strike 3 or on strike 2, then it's an out.
Yeah.
See?
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought I was still in Little League, where you get as many times as you want to out there to try to make it work. So I know that Arkansas's got, I believe it's McNeese State this weekend, but still some non-conference games before they get set up there for SEC play. Just what do you want to see more from the team, or maybe some things you want to see continuing to develop right before SEC player? Because obviously you played a few years. Like, what's that building into that, and then once SEC plays, and just the difference that makes from non-con to getting into the real stuff?
Yeah, I think what I want to see is just I want to see those guys that step up and say, okay, I'm going to take this position. There's still quite a few positions that are wide open. There's not a solidified starter at every spot right now. So you're looking for those guys to just step up and just say, hey, I'm going to take this. This is mine, kind of deal. So. But yeah, just for the offense to continue to progress, it's definitely going to be, once SEC rolls around, I think you'll start to see guys. That's when you start to see guys emerge and start to establish themselves. Edmondson's a guy that hadn't played much that looked really good yesterday. That they've talked about quite a bit. That could end up playing left field every day. So, but also just from the pitching side, I think you just want to see you want to see the same thing you just saw every single weekend. That would be ideal, but we know that's obviously going to be impossible almost to replicate what we just did this past weekend. So, but I think just for the pitchers to continue to progress and just see the young guys gain more confidence and be able, Gackle's going to be a guy that, hey, it's 8th inning, LSU, game 3, we got a 1-run lead, come in and shut the door. So. It was good for him to get that experience this last weekend. So, those are just a couple things I'm looking for. But I think more than anything for me is the offense just continuing to progress. And every year, it always shakes out. It always works out in the end. And, we may look really bad for the first 15, 20 games offensively and can't score a run. But then you look up in game 35, 45, and it's like, okay, I like where we're at. So.
Well, and I also wanted to bring this up with you too. We when we went down, we had a chance to talk with some of the players before, like it's on Thursday before the game, and just they were out there practicing, and we were talking about traditions that they had before they getting out there. And Hagen Smith said he has to have Jersey Mike's, and he has to have the Italian sandwich with no tomato.
Yep.
Like he has to have that. Gage Wood went, Well, extra where he says that he doesn't change his underwear. He wears the same pair of underwear. And I think he had something else that he has to do. But the point is, I think it's interesting. But for you, like, was there anything, it's even whether it was something you did or maybe one of your teammates did that was kind of outlandish when it came to traditions like that?
Everyone does something crazy. It's for me, I was a guy that, you know, if I take my wrists and I went 3 for 4 that game, I was doing the same thing the next day. Yeah. And I would keep doing that deal until I had a really bad game. Like, all right, I got to switch it up. Yeah. So it just depends, you know, whether it was wearing the same thing to the field that day, you know, wearing the same shoes, the same hat, or just, you know, wearing an armband instead of tape, or wearing long sleeve, short sleeve. So you just, every guy's got something. Yeah, whatever it takes to where it's all mental. It's just making yourself feel comfortable.
Yeah,
so.
I just laugh because it's like, man, the specifics of Hagen's and just it has to be Jersey Mike's, it has to be Italian, it has to have no tomato. But I'm like, man, if you're throwing 17 strikeouts a game, you better, if there's not a Jersey Mike's in the area, you better go find one.
I may start eating Jersey Mike's at that rate.
Yeah, seriously. It's maybe something in it, too. So, but Tyler, before I let you go, man, just Bank of Fayetteville, what you guys got going on over there? And know it's always, you know, different times of year where it gets busier and whatnot. But what's going on over at Bank of Fayetteville right now?
Yeah, man, we're just, you know, we're definitely just getting into the community and trying to get involved with the community as much as possible. And especially, there's a really big, you know, feeling from our bank this year. We're really just trying to invest in Northwest Arkansas and Fayetteville, and invest in the people more than anything, you know. And we want to help this area grow as much as possible. We want to help people grow individually as well. So we're just looking to establish, you know, banking relationships and help in whatever ways we can as a bank. And I know banks, they can get a bad rap. I get that. So, but being a small community local bank, being in the heart of Fayetteville, we're just so invested in this community, and we want to see this community thrive, and we want to see this community grow and the people of Northwest Arkansas grow. So we're just really trying to find ways and avenues that we can invest in people and the community, and just help people out.
Yeah, well, I was really happy about being able to walk around downtown Fayetteville and know the weather. But today it's weird. It's like freezing cold outside, so I'm about tired of it. But at least we're not playing baseball today.
No kidding.
Yeah, we got a good weekend in front of it. But Tyler, as always, man, we appreciate you joining us and appreciate Bank of Fayetteville being a part of it. And look forward to catching up with you next week, talking a little bit more ball.
Sweet, sounds good. Thanks, John.
We not done yet either, so don't be satisfied. We not done.
I mean, honestly, I don't really remember post game. I guess I black out after games, winning and losing.
You missed it. You missed it. You missed it. Just tell me you missed it. I'm not going to go through it today. Why not?
And that will be the last question I answer with that hat on.
Oh, shoot.
That is why Arkansas is fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Why did that happen in Fayetteville, Arkansas? What took you there? It's just so weird. It's
visiting friends, but yeah, Dixon Street.
Dixon Street?
Yeah, Dixon Street. It was, it'll get you.
Best guys, I know it's a tough time for you. The coach is gone, but you got a new coach now, and you got to listen to what he says. Okay, I know you're thinking, oh, who is this new guy? Where's the other guy that crashed the motorcycle? We like him better. He was cool or whatever. Forget about all that. Listen to the new coach and get out there and win some games.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
You guys act like it's... Pick it up a little bit. Okay? Get your chin up. Smile. Smile.
I was a teacher today. Told those boys, welcome to the SEC.
Fayetteville is 1,843 miles away, but the call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
Let's stick my dick in the mashed potatoes. Go Hogs.
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
Welcome back into the John Nabors Show here live from the Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening in and watching in today. Appreciate Tyler Spoon joining us, former Razorback great. Thanks to Bank of Fayetteville, which I got Curtis Wilkerson in here as well. And it was funny, Curtis, I was thinking about just how Tyler, it's good to talk with him and everything, but just hearing him talk about some of the guys And particularly Hagen Smith maybe being a top pick in the draft. It's a bold statement, but I don't think it's that far-fetched either. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. And you got a guy who is out there pumping 98, 99, and he's got a hammer, and he struck out 17 guys in a row, a top 10 team. So, hey, I think it makes sense to me.
Yeah, but I can't wait to see what the rest of the season holds. But, again, we appreciate them being a part of it each and every day or each and every week here on the John Nabors Show, and appreciate Tyler coming in, too. I wanted to also – I'm going to see if I can find this, Curtis, because this is something worth talking about.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Because I have to pull this up and actually discuss it, because we know we had a discussion at least a little bit yesterday about NIL, and it was pretty interesting. And just talking about how it is with Arkansas, because I feel like that gets asked all the time. It's like, oh, our NIL's crap, or oh, our NIL's good, whatever it is. Well, this was something that got sent to me at least this morning, and I know you've seen it, Curtis. But this is a tweet from Chris Bauer. Now, let me be very clear about this, folks. I've met Chris. He's a great guy. He's new to the Arkansas Edge. He kind of runs things over there. We've got a good working relationship and partnership and everything, so I don't want anybody to take it otherwise. But 24/7 Sports put out a list and said, is your team on the list? And put out a link of the top 25 recruiting rankings in football for 2025. And Arkansas is sitting there at 22, which I think is about average, right?
It's about right, yeah.
I mean, that's
par for the course.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. But Chris Bauer of the Arkansas Edge says, please share this. There is no reason this class couldn't be top 15 when it's finished with a strong Arkansas Edge NIL. But we need everyone in Hog Nation to have a chance. $10 or $10,000, every bit matters. Join or contribute at ArkansasEdgeNIL.com. DM me about corporation partnerships. Now, this set people pretty off. And, I'm not going to show the tweets and the comments.
The mentions were electric.
They were, as the kids say, got ratioed. It was a ratioed tweet. Yeah. But when you saw this tweet, what was your initial reaction to it? Was it a... Because I don't know. I see it both ways. I see what Chris is doing, and this is his job. I mean, it's his job to do this. But I also see, given the circumstances and maybe the timeliness of it, especially from last night's game, and just in general about the athletic department, it's I don't know. Maybe it came off a little tone deaf, or maybe just bad timing.
Yeah, both of those things. Yeah, tone deaf, bad timing, and I think for that reason, it probably missed its mark. I'm with you. I completely understand what he's doing there, and kind of the end game and the process and all that. But I think the thing that I found most interesting about it is, you had to have known when you put that out there that there's going to be a certain type of reaction, and he was just engaging everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every reply, he would respond to that one. And, we want to win some games or whatever. And he's like, well, there's only one way to do that. And, so it was very interesting to read all of that. And I was almost more fascinated with the tweet he put out. I don't know if you saw the follow-up a little bit later in the day where he was like, appreciate all the responses. I knew Razorback fans were passionate. Now I really understand now. Mm-hmm. But he was, just basically, I don't know, treating it like a social experiment too, where he was just gathering a bunch of information and feedback and seeing what people like and what they don't, and he'll take it from there. So from that standpoint, maybe he's a genius.
Yeah. Well, he definitely got feedback.
Oh, he got feedback.
I think he got plenty of feedback, if that's the case. Man. I just, because I got it sent to me, and I know you looked at it, and it was pretty wild. And just in seeing some of the responses and some of the feelings that people had and sharing it, which here's the deal, is that most people, I feel like, don't like the NIL. Mm-hmm. Maybe, or let me rephrase that. They either don't like it or they're indifferent, or it's kind of like, I don't care, just win games. And then there's some people that just flat out, this is bad for everything. You took away everything that I had that was so nice, and da-da-da. And then I think there's also some people that get it. But it seemed like most people that took issue or taking an issue with this particular tweet was people that just hate it and don't like it, and also are very upset with the people that are dealing with the NIL, because they're under the understanding that it's bad and the NIL at Arkansas is not good, which is not true. But I don't know. I just feel like I still don't know if that's the way that you want to get people to contribute especially the timing of everything and just knowing where it's at.
And I also think some of the reaction was from people who don't understand it and how it works. And I feel like he was kind of trying to address some of that too. Like I know one person was like, oh, well, maybe if somebody throws a touchdown pass or makes a sack, then you put up their, a QR code for their Venmo and we can pay them then. He's like, well, yeah, but the rules, I'd like that, but the rules clearly state you can't do it. It just seems like there might have been a better medium than to just put a tweet out there and just, catch all the fire and the backlash from it. Like maybe there could have been a space and a Q&A or I don't know, man, but he opened himself up to some darts and
I'm telling you,
he definitely caught him. But yeah, I understand it from the perspective of a lot of people. I mean, some are like, hey, like I make my donation every year and I buy season tickets and now you want more. I don't like that. And other people are like, oh, so Arkansas's not winning games because I'm not giving you my $10 a month or whatever. So, that comes with the territory, but I think it also comes across, and I really don't think it is this way, but I think it comes across as like desperation almost, where probably opposing fan bases are looking at this and going, Arkansas is begging their fans for $10, you know?
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, it kind of feels like a bad look, even though, like you said, and I agree, like I understand what he's trying to do here.
Yeah. He's doing his job.
Yeah.
And whether you agree with it or not, or whether you agree with the way he's doing it or not, I mean, just basing it off of what I think, if you look at it by that tweet, if they added a $10 donation because someone saw that tweet, then that's $10 more than what you got.
Yep.
So then it makes it worth it because the tweet doesn't cost anything to do. But I also just believe, here's the thing. If Arkansas sports, it's all about where you're at, man. Like if Arkansas sports situationally, at least like they're in a position where basketball's rolling and baseball's going up and football's coming off of a nice year, then I bet you the response is probably a lot more like, yeah, sign me up. Yeah, we need to keep this rolling. Yeah. But when you go 4-8 in football and basketball's in the toilet and you got baseball, but it's just started, so hasn't disappointed fans yet. I think that's probably what made it to where people were like, man, this is bad. Like we're just going to take it out on this guy, even though he's just doing his job. But people were very upset by it, and I just laugh because I know it's crazy to think Twitter has people who are mad and saying things. Who are like, it's like a cesspool of comments. But
dude, he handled it better than I would have. Like I probably could have taken his approach for like 2.5 of those responses before I was like, all right, forget you guys.
Yeah, like, okay, y'all are on your own. I'm out. Like,
turn off the comments and the replies.
Yeah, but it's something that is new to everybody, and they're trying to build it and they're trying to make it work. So again, I get it, but it just makes me wonder. Well, let me put it this way. He's not saying it directly, and maybe he is saying it directly, but usually it's about like recruiting. The whole thing was like, oh, well, you're not supposed to pay recruits to come here. It's like supposed to do it this way. But then this is kind of like, hey, the NIL, if you want to pay in, this is how we get a top 15 class, which I think is true. Like if it is true. It's 100% true.
But that's an interesting point you bring up, though, because I guess in theory it should be like, opportunities for guys who are already here and everything like that. It's shouldn't be an inducement for recruiting, but hey, we all know what's up. Yeah. We know what's real and what's fake, and so shout out to him for going out there. And maybe, honestly, maybe he doesn't care about putting it out there because the NCAA doesn't have a leg to stand on anymore, and we'll see how long it lasts. But
I mean, everybody, like, was it Tennessee that ended up winning that? I don't know if it was a lawsuit or whatever it was.
Temporary injunction or whatever they call it. Yeah,
winning that. So they've been taking care of business with that. So maybe it just makes it feel like, it's a little bit more free. But yeah, just the approach of that, I was like, all right, well, just kind of saying the quiet part out loud now. Like, hey.
Yeah, no kidding.
Get a top 15 class if you donate to the NIL program, even though it's 100% true. Like, it's 100% true that that's the case. But also, I don't know. We've talked about it, but yeah, high school recruiting is big. And, when you get especially in football with the classes and all that. But at the same time, man, the way football is now in college sports, you get that say if Arkansas got a top 10 class, 2 years goes by, how many people from that top 10 class is still on campus?
Yeah, it's exactly right. Not that many.
Yeah.
The transfers are the big money guys. I mean,
that's who I want.
Yeah. Get the proven commodities in here.
Yeah. Don't get the projects. It's going to tell you. Again, maybe, I don't even think it's a maybe. Like, football has to be, of all college sports, the one where it is the toughest for a freshman to come right in and perform. Like, you'll see it. Like, it'll happen.
There's like only at a select few positions is it even possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I feel like say if you use a freshman All-American, like that's one thing because it's just a group of freshmen. But if you actually get a true legitimate All-American who is a legitimate true freshman, that's a pretty rare thing.
Right.
So, in basketball, I mean, one and done freshman players are just part of it. Even in baseball, if you get the freshmen the ones that are freshmen or would be freshmen are going pro out of high school anyways. So it's like the ones that are really good, you wouldn't be able to even have. But then on occasion you'll have, each and every team's got freshmen that are playing. But then again, football, it's about the transfer portal for me. Like, put all your funding and all your eggs into that basket.
John, if you would have donated your $10 earlier, Arkansas could have got Quinshon Judkins out of the portal instead of Ohio State.
It's my fault. I'm sorry. Yep.
We don't forgive you for that. So
I shouldn't have gone to Chipotle yesterday. I should just use that money to donate it. Which, by the way, I want to say this really quick. I did not tell this story, and I have a witness to it. I didn't tweet about it, and this is shocking to me because I was again, it's been a week. It's been a week so far.
It has.
But yesterday, me and Scotty went to Chipotle for lunch, right over here on Dixon Street. And I'm still, this is my hometown, Fayetteville, but I'm still getting used to it, still getting used to all the stuff. And I parked in front of Chipotle, and I ran inside. Me and Scotty went inside. I know that there's pay for parking in the city of Fayetteville. Here on the square, you pay during the day, but at night, it's free. But off Dixon Street, it's kind of been the opposite, where it's free during the day, but at night, you pay. I just thought always that was the rule. Well, apparently that parking lot, that's where Chipotle's at, it's pay no matter what. And not only, like I'm sitting there, me and Scotty, and Scotty points out, he's like, is that guy doing something to your truck? And I look over, and he's putting a taped message on my window, like with a piece of paper and taping it. I was like, what is going on? I go out there, Curtis, they have booted my truck. They put a boot on my truck immediately. No ticket, no citation.
What?
They put a boot on my truck. And then the message says, this vehicle has been immobilized. And I have to pay $40 for this dude to take my... And I'm sitting there,
dude, that's aggressive.
I have never seen that before in my life. And again, if people who are listening and watching live in Fayetteville and they know that rule, and they're like, yeah, idiot, that's how it is. I didn't. Like, I always just assumed during the day, on a weekday, it was free. But this guy's just posted up in a vehicle in the parking lot, just waiting. And because we didn't even get, you've been at Chipotle, we didn't even get our food and sit down before the guy was already putting up a boot and everything. And I had $40 cash, and I was just like, here you go. It's like,
okay, you want to give me the $15 parking ticket? Sure. Booting it for just being parked in front of the Chipotle?
Yep. No options, no questions asked. I'm like, how is that okay?
And he was just sitting waiting for you to hand him $40 and was like, okay, I'll get it all.
Because I go out there and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, been immobilized. I'm like, you serious? And I saw the boot on my truck. And I'm like, what is, dude? I'm like, this happened so fast. Like, what happened here? And he's like, yeah, $40. And it's like, again, it kind of goes back to, I'm not mad at him because he's just doing his job. I shouldn't be mad at him. But at the same time, I'm like, this is so absurd. I've never seen anything like it.
That's crazy, man.
So, yeah, for just future reference.
Good to know.
Do not park in the Chipotle parking lot off Dixon Street and not pay, or they will boot it. So.
That's wild. Gosh.
Yeah, because even got a comment here from, I don't know what the name is, but I'm going to call you Dan because that's what the last three letters of that is. But it says, it is the campus bookstore's lot. If you don't go into the bookstore, they boot you. But it wasn't the bookstore lot. It was the Chipotle lot. Like that one that's kind of next to the train tracks. That's like in between, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe they own the lot, but it wasn't like I was not going into the bookstore.
Right.
But that at least makes sense, though, in the parking lot over there because it's their parking lot. Yeah. I went into the Chipotle. I paid Chipotle. And I told Scotty when I come back, that was the most expensive burrito I've ever had in my life.
Was it good?
So I was just floored by it. Just absolutely floored.
Hopefully it at least hit the spot.
It was good. It was good, but... I know. I could not believe that like my truck got booted without even a warning or, hey, Just you're going to go pay for that or whatever.
Hey, Big Womp is all over it. He knows exactly who you're talking about.
That guy sits in his the guy that does that sits in his truck in the corner of the parking lot all day. He is evil, dude. Okay, so I'm glad you saw that because you know who I'm talking about. He does just sit in the parking lot. And I should have called the cops because I'm pretty sure he was parked in the handicap spot just sitting there.
Well, you should have taken the boot off of your truck and put it on his.
Yeah. And I'm like, who's paying? I want to be like, who's your employer? Who's paying you for this? I doubt Chipotle is. So it's like, does someone who owned that parking lot have you hired someone? He's like, hey, just go boot them. Easy $40.
It feels like that would discourage people from coming to that Chipotle. Like if that's a thing, and there are people who are like, oh, we know that guy. He's evil. He'll boot you. Like I just wouldn't go there.
Yeah. And Big Womp also said saw somebody cutting the boot off one time. That was interesting. I was like, yeah, I bet.
How do you cut one of those things off?
I don't know. Now, I'll admit, it wasn't like one of those heavy-duty boots.
Yeah.
But it was one that I'm like, I'm not going to drive with it because it's going to mess up my truck.
Right.
But I know he was struggling to get the boot on because I do have like a bigger wheel well and bigger tires. So he was struggling with that, which made me laugh.
Good. Yeah.
So, yeah, I was like, yeah, how about that, buddy? Made your job a little bit harder. So, Katie says there's a lot behind the garage that has Chipotle parking, I think. Yes, heaven forbid I think the parking lot in front of the Chipotle is for Chipotle, and then I can just park there in any time when I go to Chipotle. Like, heaven forbid that's the case. Either way, I had to get that. I forgot to tell that story yesterday because we had so much going on, and I didn't even. Again, that's usually something I tweet about and go off on. I didn't even do that, so I feel like I was slipping. But that absolutely happened yesterday, and that dude who couldn't keep his pants up, he left a piece of tape on my window. And I was like,
you've been immobilized.
Yeah, that's literally what it said. You've been immobilized.
That's great.
I was like, great.
Was it handwritten or did he have them like printed out?
No, it's a printed like yellow tag thing. And it's got like a signature of his, I guess it's his signature, and just says $40. I'm like,
passing out
dude,
autographs,
y'all probably make a killing out here. Because if you're just somebody, say if he gets one of those a day, and that adds up. I'm not going to try to do math. But the point is like he can get plenty of money there too.
I want to start moonlighting as the boot guy.
Yeah,
sounds like a good gig.
Great gig.
It's like probably easier than Uber.
Yeah, Drake says college students know to avoid that Chipotle. Yeah, no kidding. If I was Chipotle, I'd be pissed too. Be like, man, you're costing me customers. Like, or I'd do something like, hey, if you get booted, let us know, or something like that.
Right. I mean, yeah. Apparently, this is a thing. That's not the rep you want.
That's the only lot I know of that that it does that, because everywhere else it's City of Fayetteville parking, and that's it. So, yeah, just a PSA to all of you out there. Do not park at the Chipotle parking lot on Dixon Street and not pay. And apparently you got like T-minus 30 seconds to get the money in, or else you're immobilized.
Right.
So, yeah, just, again, heads up for all of you up there, too.
Right. Did we draw an Oregon State fan into the chat here? Is that what I see?
Yeah, what is this? See y'all in Omaha.
Bet.
Oh, wait, this is not a baseball show. Hey, this is an everything show.
It's an all-encompassing show.
Yeah, we talk baseball. We talk with Tyler Spoon for like 40 minutes.
That's right.
Where's it's a baseball? It's a baseball show. It's whatever's relevant going on right now.
I would love to see Oregon State in Omaha again. And I will say this, and I mean it sincerely, that like there were way more, there were more Oregon State fans there, I feel like, than Oklahoma State and Michigan.
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoyed them. Like, they were all nice. They were well behaved. They cheered on their team. They were respectful. Like, I actually like the Oregon State fans.
But you know what's so funny is that I didn't have any issue with it, but then some friends of mine, some older family friends of mine, were at the game, and they literally almost got into a fight with like 3 Oregon State fans.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. And I even pointed out, I don't know if I pointed out to you, I pointed out to Scotty, but and I saw where he was. He was down there behind the dugout, and he was one of these fans that every time something happened, like it could just be like a pop-up, like fly and an easy catch, and then he would look to the Razorback fans and just start like egging them on. He took his hat off and started doing this thing to him. I'm like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? Right. You're not even in a conference, man. Like, you're over here talking this trash.
It's interesting.
So
I remember the family when we were live streaming the basketball game. There's over 100 Razorback fans out there, and then all of a sudden, it's one table. It's 3 Oregon State fans, a guy in a DJ Uiagalelei jersey, and a kid, and they just fit right in.
Yeah.
You know,
Again,
so
and
maybe the other ones need to act like that group.
Yeah, be nicer. Well, it's like Connor, the Oregon State fan, apparently in our stream here. He just says every fan base has a few bad eggs. Unfortunately, yes, you do. You're right. You're right.
That's right.
And I'm not. That's not encompassing on all of you. Like, I can't tell you how many times that somebody says, "Oh, this fan base is the worst," and I'm like, I've actually had pleasant experiences with them for the most part. Right? Everybody has their own issues there, but yeah, I did think though that was a great high level type of game that you'll probably see. It wouldn't surprise me if both teams were in Omaha for that one.
No doubt.
Yeah,
Connor, if you're still listening, tell us if the starting pitcher is okay.
Yes,
the guy that came out of the game, because I haven't heard.
Yeah, because that guy, that was a sad deal. It just because. You never want to assume, but when some injury like that happens and see kind of the point and everything, it just seems like it's
that's not the spot you want to see a pitcher point to. So.
No, because I think Arkansas fans have seen that before.
That is a fact.
I mean, what was it? Peyton Paulette, saw it with him, and then we didn't see it, I guess, with Jackson Wiggins, but Jackson Wiggins did have it.
Yeah.
And we've seen some other pitchers too. So yeah, hopefully he's okay, because you never want to see that. But he was really good. He's a really good pitcher, and not as good as Hagen Smith, but he's still a really good pitcher nonetheless. Okay, so a few things of, hey, did y'all see this? As we just got a few minutes before we close up shop here on the show. Do you see this? A West Virginia town had a candlelight vigil for a Hooters that closed.
No.
And apparently they used the money to help raise a family in need. Like, I thought, I was like, that's great. So apparently hundreds have gathered to remember the Kanawha City Hooters. And they're doing this story, and apparently it closed during the COVID-19 pandemic and never reopened. And they announced eventually the building would be demolished to make way for a Sheetz gas station. Have you ever heard of a Sheetz gas? Really?
It's a big thing in the out east.
Really? Okay. Is it just like a Quick Trip type thing? Or?
Yeah, it's Quick Trip-ish. It's probably somewhere between like Casey's and Quick Trip.
Okay.
I feel like the newer Quick Trips are a little bit nicer, but Sheetz they've got a good variety of things. Yeah.
Okay. Well, apparently that's becoming a Sheetz gas station, not so much as Hooters. But organizers said this candlelight vigil started out as a joke between friends, but then it took off on social media, and hundreds of people, including some former Hooters employees, turned out to pay tribute to the restaurant, famous for its hot wings and scantily clad servers. Isn't that what? Was it Barry Booker that said that and got in trouble on the SEC network when we talked about that? When we talked about
saying scantily
because
clad
they were doing a promo for the gymnastics teams, and he's like, I'm ready to see some scantily clad women. I'm like, oh gosh, I think he got fired after that. But so every time I see scantily clad, that's immediately what I think of. But Browning said,
awesome.
Browning said the vigil ended up being more than a tribute. It also raised money for a local family in need. It says one of our close friends' daughters, she was just diagnosed with a very rare disease, and it's serious. She doesn't get the help. She don't get the help, then she's not going to be with us much longer. But they said they may raise the money for that. So that's an awesome deal. But
yeah, I mean, how about parlaying something like that into a good cause? Like, they would have had me at, we're just holding a candlelight vigil for the Hooters that closed. Like, I'm sure I'll be out there.
I mean, I will say,
raise my light.
Yeah, raise the light and flashing it. I'm trying to think. I don't even know Hooters. How many of them still exist? At least in Arkansas, I think there's one in Little Rock still, and maybe one in Fort Smith. But that's not it.
I wouldn't know.
Because I know there's not one up here in Northwest Arkansas anymore. In fact, the building I'm pretty sure the building that the Hooters was in up here in Fayetteville has still not had anything in it, because it might be the worst location you could have ever had.
Fair.
Did you ever go to it when he was here?
No.
Okay.
But when I lived in St. Louis, it was like there was a Hooters. It was a Hooters and a Jack in the Box that were walking distance from my house, and I was a frequent flyer of Hooters, and so was my wife. So everybody relax.
Yeah.
But
chill out.
Yeah, no, it was a good time there. So.
Yeah. What is Jack in the Box is another thing. I think I've been to one a couple times, but I still don't know. Like, is it known for burgers, or is it known for?
Well, it depends. Like, if you're a cult follower of Jack in the Box, then like you get their tacos actually and the curly fries. I have no idea the meat in those tacos, but they hit the spot, after a long night. But yeah, it's like burgers, fries, and everything like that.
So you saw about cult followers. So does that make you a cult follower?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
And actually, when I was held up, and I've told you guys this story, we don't have time for it. Another story for another day. But when I got held up in Vegas and lost my wallet off of the Strip, the people got a tank of gas and then spent $47 at the Jack in the Box drive-thru before I could cancel my card. And that's spending $47 at Jack in the Box is like spending $47 at Taco Bell. Like, you're feeding a school bus full of children with that kind of food.
Because how long ago was that happened?
Oh man, like 2015, 15 probably.
So you're talking about when things were really low priced, like even more so than they are now, because fast food's going up. So yeah, that's insane. Well, glad you made it out okay, but
thanks, man.
Hopefully they got their money's worth out of the Jack in the Box.
I think they did.
Over there. Let's see. Also, by the way, the comments here from Connor Johnson. He gave us an update on their starting pitcher because we were asking about it with Oregon State. Says he's not pitching this weekend, but he had an interview today, and so did Coach, and they both downplayed it and said long-term health is the utmost importance. We play North Dakota State this weekend and CSUN next, so we should be good without him for a while to be safe. He said he'll get a couple of bullpens, but that's all. So
good.
That's good.
Good.
Yeah, because again, it looked pretty insane and pretty scary for what that injury was. All right, real quick, just got about one more minute here. Do you watch Sopranos or did?
I'm not a cult follower like maybe Ellis and Scotty, but no, I've seen some.
All right. Well, Drea.
I know who that is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's say Drea. Is it Damatio? I think it's Damatio. Anyways, she paid off her mortgage in 5 minutes, and thanks to OnlyFans. Because remember when she joined it, it came like a kind of a big deal. But apparently she was doing it because she was needing money. That's what a lot of people do. She says it saved her house, paid off her mortgage in just 5 minutes.
I mean, good on her, and I'm happy for her. And, I hope she can continue to thrive on that platform. But I am salty about it. And everyone that can do that. Like, I just wish I had a redeeming quality that I could just make a bunch of money right away on OnlyFans. Yeah. I don't have great feet. No. If I did, I'd have them suckers on there, man. Yeah. So it's just good on anyone who can capitalize on that platform, and definitely good for 5 minutes.
Nah, listen, it was what makes America great. Like you can just sell pictures of your feet to people and
that's right.
Send the kids to college. Like, what could be better?
I mean, why not?
What could be better than
teachers who can't pay the bills can they get on OnlyFans now, and then they get fired from their day job, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I thought this was America where you can just do those things. You can have side hustles, side gigs, do all of that. So, okay, real quick before we get out of here, Christian also want to say, did y'all see where Wendy's is going to start testing these menu prices like a stock market? Yeah, we talked about that yesterday.
I did see that.
Yeah, I think that's like people may be mad about, but I think it's a good idea business wise. Because it's like, hey, if these are the hot commodities, you got to pay more for them.
Right. That's what Ubers do.
Yeah. And then you talk about like, hey, if you're a cult follower and you like some of the off-brand or the weird stuff, then you get those for cheap.
Yep.
So maybe, I don't know, like what would be the least valuable thing on Wendy's menu? Like maybe it's the chicken sandwich or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The nuggets.
The nuggets.
People like the nuggets.
I like Wendy's. I'm not gonna lie. Like Wendy's is good stuff.
Yeah, Wendy's is nice.
I like
man.
Wendy's.
Yeah.
So, well, that wraps it up for us. So, real quick, Curtis, you learn anything from today at all?
Man, I learned that if I was in charge of the NIL program at Arkansas, I would think very hard before I tweeted and started that engagement with the passionate Razorback fans.
Yeah. I think most people would
good on him.
Avoid that one. Yeah, but I learned at least that Razorback basketball and how people are feeling about it, and the fans, it seems like they're pretty much over it and done with it, and a lot of them know exactly what they want to see on the team next year, and it seems to be pretty fitting for what everybody wants. So
no doubt.
I got that. But either way, appreciate everybody listening in and watching into the John Nabors Show. For Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Nabors. Same